the Cardcaptor Wizard of Hogwarts. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426, Heavenly Master's Treasures. The three religions have been passed down in China for generations, not only because of their strong heritage, but also because they are not only a sect of practice, but also a religion. In addition to practitioners, they also have a high influence on ordinary people who cannot practice. Hearing this, Adam probably knew why Shaolin Temple was broken up. Obviously, Zen Buddhism is the most widely spread and influential Buddhist sect in China, and its ancestral temple Shaolin Temple is naturally used as a model. That's not right. How come Xianxi Mansion and Chongyang Palace are still fine? Adam thought about it. Shaolin Temple of Buddhism was broken up, and he already knew what happened to Confucius Mansion, the ancestral temple of Confucianism. But why did Taoism seem to be fine? Confucianism was in a state of collapse because the system of monarch, minister, father and son was broken, so it was fine. Doesn't Buddhism have any objection? Why do you eat meat when you get beaten up? How could it be okay? Chongyang Palace is okay, because the scale of Quanzhen is much smaller than that of Zhangyi because of the precepts of Quanzhen and the cultivation of inner alchemy, so nothing happened. Yun Jinshu's eyes revealed a bit of gloating. Xianxi Mansion is miserable. The orthodox dispute back then was very vigorous. More than a dozen Zhang Xianxi went down the mountain together, each with a Xianxi treasure. There seemed to be 4 or 5 Sanwu's Hanxi swords alone. Adam? I have to admit that Adam couldn't help but be stunned when he heard the news, but he soon came to his senses. Great, isn't it? Yun Jinshu couldn't help laughing. Xianxi Mansion has been in charge of the Three Mountains Talisman for so many years, and it seems that this is the first time it has been so embarrassed. Adam was silent for a moment, and looked at Yun Jinshu with a bit of pity. This silly child, Alice. Yun Yan, who couldn't help but cover his forehead inside looking at the scenery outside the window moving backwards rapidly. Adam couldn't help but ponder the move of the Xianxi Mansion. The highest good is like water. Water benefits all things without competing, and stays in places that everyone hates, so it is close to the Tao. This is obviously a means for Longhu Mountain to pollute itself. It is not good to cause a dispute over the orthodoxy of the Xianxi, but is it good for the monks of Shaolin Temple to move? In comparison, the Xianxi Mansion only lost face, not the inside, and the ancestral temple is still there, which is much better than Shaolin Temple. But can't the monks of Shaolin Temple come up with the same idea? According to the current information, the practice methods of China, at least the practice methods of the three religions, in addition to extraordinary power, also attach great importance to the practice of the mind. Buddhism is the way of enlightenment. The great monks who have achieved success in the practice of the Zen ancestral temple should not be greedy for fame, right? In addition, Adam couldn't help but be curious. Are the Sanmo's Hanxi sword and Yang Ping's Hitogongine that he bought real or fake? Thinking of this, Adam simply asked directly, why were there so many treasures of the Xianxi Mansion during the dispute between the Xianxi Mansion and the Xianxi Mansion? Could it be that the Taoist priests of the Xianxi Mansion could not distinguish the real from the fake? Yun Jinshu could not help but be stunned when he heard this. Obviously, he had not thought about this question. Fortunately, Adam did not have any hope for the silly boy Yun Yan, who obviously knew some inside information. The Taoist priests of the Xianxi Mansion can distinguish the real from the fake, but those treasures of the Xianxi Mansion are real, and the division is also real, otherwise there would be no effect. If you simply want to make the office give up by making a big show, then the office will agree to it, but the monks of Shaolin Temple will not agree, so the Xianxi Mansion did encounter a split at the beginning. Except for the Zhangyi League's powerful talisman, the Sanwu's Hanxi sword and the Yangping's Hitogongine were not treasures that had been passed down for thousands of years. Basically, a new set would be made every time a dynasty changed, not counting the damage and loss before. Adam was confused. Yun Yan explained, in addition, it is not uncommon to use better technology and materials, or materials that are more in line with the emperor's aesthetic taste at the time, to refurbish it. Adam! After the initial shock of this couldn't work, Adam also came to his senses. This world does have lightning-struck wood and other natural treasures in the Chinese practice system, but there are indeed no fantasy materials such as the sun's true fire and Shaoxin's copper. In other words, There is no situation where the younger generation of disciples cannot catch up with the acquired treasures left by the ancestors no matter how much they develop their technology. Moreover, from a practical point of view, the Sanwu Zizan sword and Yangping's Hadugongain are indeed top-level magic weapons, but their symbolic value is far greater than the practical value. If necessary, they can even be customized according to the preferences of the emperor at that time for use in occasions such as the Puxian Daijiao. So, the Xianxi mansion originally kept several Sanwu Zizan swords and several Yangping's Hadugongains. After all, even if these things are eliminated, they are the symbols of the Xianxi mansion in the past, and they are also top-level magic weapons. It is impossible to throw them away casually. It's just that before, it has always been tacitly accepted that the latest set is the symbol of the Xianxi mansion. That time, in order to preserve the inheritance and the ancestral temple, the Xianxi mansion also broke the previous unspoken rules. Yun Yan, whose explanation shocked not only Adam, but also Yun Jinshu. He always thought that it was just a simple scandal at that time. Hearing this, Adam nodded suddenly. Not only did he confirm what the Sanwu Zunzi sword and Yangping's Hadugongai in his hands were, but he also understood why the monks in Shaolin Temple also had this skill. This method cannot be learned by them in Shaolin Temple. Zen Buddhism does not have such symbolic objects as the three treasures of heavenly masters. You must know that Buddhism did not even advocate idol worship. If I have to say it, the sixth patriarch's robe can be used as a symbol, but it is indeed just a symbol. Do we want 7 or 8 monks to use the so-called sixth patriarch's robes, cassocks, alms bowls, and Zen staffs to start a family separation? Everyone knows how the many Sanwu evil-slaying swords and Yangping's Hadugong seals in the Xianxi mansion came from. If Shaolin Temple does this, it would be better to abandon the ancestral palace and go to other temples to practice. The venue for this championship is Guangqian Stadium. It only takes about half an hour to get there from the airport. After chatting for a while, we have already arrived at the accommodation. What made Adam a little emotional was that the accommodation venue for the championship was actually a modern hotel with a strong atmosphere. It even had air conditioning and TV. On the other hand, the previous dual competitions were held in the United States, which is at the forefront of network development in this era. The contestants were given a place to live. Alice, what a pity, Adam played with a mobile phone he just bought. It was the kind that could smash walnuts, but could only play Tetris and Snake. It was still somewhat different from the mobile phone he had in mind. Huh? Are you dissatisfied with something? I can help you react and try to help you solve it. Yun Jinshu was resting on a chair by the window. After hearing this, he immediately turned around and asked, "Oh, it's nothing. I'm just a little greedy. I wonder if there's anything delicious around here." When he heard about eating, Yun Jinshu immediately became energetic. "That's too much? I've done my homework before. How about eating the local specialty ginger duck first?" Chapter 427, The Chinese-Style Spiritual Practice Teaching System. While waiting for the ginger duck to be served in the restaurant that is said to be the most authentic ginger duck in Xiamen province, Adam suddenly remembered something. "By the way, will there be students on stage at the championship? Speaking of which, I still don't know what the cultivation schools in China are like." His attention was previously on various sects, and only now did he remember that he didn't seem to know about the schools in China that function similarly to Hogwarts. Speaking of which, are there such schools for practitioners in China? There should be, right? According to what my grandparents said before, if people with cultivation talent don't get guidance and can't use the energy in their bodies well, it seems that something bad will happen. Although there are so many sects in China, it's impossible to randomly assign sects to teach according to their locations, right? It seems that it's not impossible, but in this case, wouldn't the cultivation world also have school district housing? Although Adam didn't show it on his face. His thoughts were already scattered endlessly, but Yun Yan, whose explanation broke his guess. "This. I'm afraid you will be disappointed. We don't have a special school like your Hogwarts here." In Adam's surprised eyes, Yun Yan, who explained, "China's territory is too large. If we only set up one school, let alone whether it can accommodate so many people, those children whose homes are far from the school may have to stay on the transportation for a long time. So, we will take the children who are detected to have the talent for cultivation to the local primary school opened by the office. There, the children will learn how to master the power in their bodies, and at the same time, they will learn the same subject knowledge as other children of the same age." It sounds a bit like Hong Kong Island, but it turns out that there is no school like Hogwarts. It doesn't mean that there is only one representative special school like Hogwarts in the UK. Adam thought that there was no such school and they could only be assigned to various sects, but primary school? Isn't it a little too early? Just at this time, the ginger duck came up and picked up a piece of wing and put it in the bowl to cool. Adam then asked his question, if it's just a matter of controlling the power in the body so that it doesn't leak out, it can be done at the age of elementary school, and it's not necessary to ask children to learn to control it in the first grade. Yan-Hu shook his head. After that, the children can decide for themselves whether to go to the middle school opened by the office or other middle schools to study. Adam blinked and asked uncertainly, other middle schools refer to middle schools for non-practitioners? Yes, after being able to control the energy in the body, the safety of those children will be initially guaranteed. Children who want to continue on the path of cultivation can choose middle schools opened by the office, while children who want to live an ordinary life can choose to go to middle schools for non-practitioners. Yan-Hu glanced at the wings in Adam's bowl and reminded Adam that he could eat it, otherwise it would be cold and affect the taste and flavor, and then continued, a similar choice will come again after finishing junior high school, but at that time, choosing to go to high school for non-practitioners may be a bit disadvantageous. The school opened by the office is definitely inferior to those good middle schools in terms of faculty. After speaking, Yan-Hu picked up a piece of duck meat from the shoulder for himself and blew it in front of his mouth. Adam listened to Yan-Hu's words and chewed the duck meat slowly in his mouth. It is said that this ginger duck is made from genuine duck, and the taste is indeed a little different from ordinary duck. The duck meat stewed with fresh ginger and various seasonings has a delicate taste, unique fragrance, and a wine aroma. Adam is not sure whether it is authentic, but it tastes good. Adam swallowed the meat in his mouth, savoring the fragrance in his mouth and Yan-Hu's words just now. From what you said, there is no choice in high school. It's not that there is no choice, but the price is relatively high. The compulsory education in the office is only 9 years. During these 9 years, those children will learn basic knowledge and how to control the power in their bodies so that it will not leak out. Yan-Hu also started to eat ginger duck. Jinshu, who had been eating for a while, took over the baton of explaining to Adam, if you want to practice further above this, you have to find a professional school, such as a special military school or police school, or go to various sects to learn from a master. Seemingly thirsty, Jinshu picked up the teacup and drank a sip of barley tea to moisten his throat, and then continued, at this point, it doesn't mean that you are not allowed to go back to the world of non-practitioners, but you have spent so much energy on practice before, and it is still a disadvantage after all, wasting a lot of youth. So, this is how it is in China. Swallowing a mouthful of leg meat, Adam nodded in understanding. It sounds like China doesn't really encourage cultivation. How should I put it? If I have to say it, it's really not very encouraging. Ignoring his brother's disapproving look, Jinshu shrugged his shoulders. Those who are gifted in cultivation will still be trained by the office, and we will even help them contact famous mentors according to their wishes. As for those who only have the talent for cultivation, it's hard for them to achieve anything on the road of cultivation, but they have learned some skills, which increases the hidden dangers of social security. In comparison, they might as well study hard to strengthen the construction of the motherland. Adam nodded. Considering from the perspective of social stability, this is understandable. However, I am afraid it will not have any effect. If there is an extraordinary road in front of us, who would be willing not to go? Learning normal subjects in Hong Kong Island is just to assist in cultivation and improve one's competitiveness in the workplace. In fact, there are many such people. Yan-Hu suddenly said, not long ago, when this land was still in chaos, until now, many people with cultivation talents have chosen to devote themselves to national construction and give up cultivation. After all, cultivation can only improve personal strength, but cannot make the country stronger. Adam was a little surprised by this. It turns out that there are such things in China in this world. Cultivation cannot save the country, which is reasonable, but he really couldn't associate it before, eh? Wait, since there are so many cultivation sects, why did China still? Adam looked at the two brothers of the Yun family with doubts in his eyes. If they were suddenly targeted by modern weapons, it would be fine, but the Chinese practitioners at that time should be very clear about the power of modern weapons. They should be able to use flying swords and other means to target the invading foreign enemies. Now the files of the Ministry of Magic are completely open to him. As far as he knows, The two world wars were closely monitored by the magic ministries of various countries. There should be no mysterious forces in the army that invaded China. Chapter 428. I came at an unfortunate time. Although we don't have much contact with your wizards, we still know a little bit about the existence of the secrecy law. Regarding Adam's question, Yun Yan replied, if a practitioner intervenes in a war between ordinary people and exposes the existence of wizards, it may attract the attention of the International Federation of Wizards and make the situation worse. So even if there are practitioners who join the battlefield, they will not use it. Methods of practice. Adam was stunned for a moment. Weren't the seniors from China too honest? Actually, as long as you clean up the traces, nothing will happen. There are wizards in the UK who secretly participated in the First World War. For example, Newt's brother Theseus was called a war hero because he participated in World War I, but then Adam came to his senses, and Yun Yan, who said to himself that he must have meant that none of them had used cultivation methods at the beginning, but what actually happened was another matter. Rabbits are never as innocent as they appear in any case. China's understanding of ordinary people and practitioners does not seem to be as divided as the International Federation of Wizards. Perhaps the subsequent discussion on breaking the secrecy law will be smoother than imagined, but Adam didn't make a conclusion so early. After all, he just heard what the two brothers of the Yun family said. At this moment Adam spent the next time enjoying the ginger duck in front of him, and then went shopping in Xiamen province with the two Yun brothers. After digesting his food, he found a small shop and had a bowl of santy noodles. Sure enough, the smell of shops near this community is great. After wiping his mouth with a handkerchief he brought, he stuffed it into his pocket after cleaning it. Adam looked at a street outside. It looked like there were many tempting snacks, for example, Dingbian paste, feuding meat slices, etc. After buying another box of mochi, Adam and the two Yun brothers walked back to their accommodation. Speaking of which, there are many places to visit next to Jimri University. There's still a week left until the tournament starts, but none of the participating sects have come. Adam picked up a mochi with a toothpick and put it into his mouth. The outside of the glutinous rice ball was wrapped with sesame and chopped peanuts, and the inside was wrapped in a crispy fried filling. The complex textures mixed in his mouth, making every bite taste different. Surprise, he came a week early just to be on the safe side, but he didn't expect the contestants to come so late. Everyone basically comes 2 days before the tournament. Yun Jinshu held the root in his hand and said while eating, you can take a good stroll here during this time, or you can go to surrounding cities. Anyway, you can come back in time, or you can go further away. Then just ask the office to borrow a vertical golden light talisman. Although it was possible, it was not necessary. In the end, Adam decided to just play around. Before heading north from Guangzhou, he had only passed through Fuzhou. In fact, there are specialty snacks almost everywhere in Fujian. The next day, Quan Province. Don't come over here. Looking at the long creature wrapped in transparent gel that Yun Jinshu handed over, Yun Yan's face turned pale, and the word rejection was written all over his body. Take it away quickly. Hey, it's okay. Just take a bite and open your mouth. Yun Jinshu's obscene voice sounded faintly. I didn't expect that Yan Wei would be afraid of bamboo shoot jelly. It actually tastes very good. Adam has already finished a portion of 6 bamboo shoot jelly. The bamboo shoot jelly itself tastes a bit like salty jelly, and with the addition of garlic soy sauce and vinegar, it tastes quite delicious. In addition, I have to mention that the merchants at this time are still much more conscientious than they were in his previous life. Not to mention the price because of the different times. The main reason is that each portion of the bamboo shoots is very generous. The bamboo shoot jelly he ate here in his previous life only had a thin layer of bamboo shoots at the bottom. Being so amused, Yun Yan, who became so angry that he moved his hands, grabbed the box of bamboo shoot jelly and slapped it on Yun Jinshu's face. For a moment, the sauce and bamboo shoot jelly were flying all over the sky. Oh, what a waste of food. Upon seeing this, Adam shook his head inside, and asked the stunned boss next to him for a piece of vinegar pork. After a while, Yun Jinshu found a deserted place to clean off the sauce on his body, and cleaned up the slap marks on his face before belatedly returning to the team after forcefully pressing down the fist that was about to move. After seeing this face, Yun looked back at Adam and said, where should we go next? Well, Adam blinked, thought for a moment and said, there should be a training sect here, right? I wonder if I can go and have a look. This, Yun Yan thought about it for a while, There are indeed cultivation sects in Quan Province. There are famous practitioners from the three sects in Xianhao Temple, Kayun Temple, and Confucian Temple respectively. However, whether you can visit or not depends on the other party's wishes. We can go and have a look first. Even if we can't enter, outside it can also be visited. As expected, the office also doubles as the tourism bureau because Yun Jinshu and Yun Yan, who were members of the Taoist sect, they chose to go to the Xianhao Palace of the Taoist sect first. A Kun Taoist practiced here, and the Kun Taoist readily agreed to their request to visit. Sure enough, it went well. It seems that the two of us still have some face. When he walked into the mountain gate, Yun Jinshu couldn't help but raise his head and said, "There are no secrets in Tianhao Palace." On weekdays, many people from the surrounding areas come to pray for blessings. On grand occasions such as festivals and temple fairs, Mazu statues are invited to join in the fun, so requests to visit are generally not refused. Yun Yan, who ignored Yun Jinshu's words and introduced to Adam. "I see." Adam nodded. "Sure enough, it is a coastal city. Legend has it that Mazu here is better than the judge. No matter how stubborn the parents are, they will be shaken by the words." Mazu agrees, "But it's just a pity that I didn't see the practice scene, although I successfully visited the Taoist priest's cafeteria and living area with the permission of Kundao, and even had a meal. It was a pity that I still didn't see everyone practicing. Moreover, they arrived at an unlucky time. The disciples in Xianhao Temple were all studying Taoist scriptures at the moment. They couldn't let those disciples stop their classes and perform for the sake of these tourists. There's nothing we can do about it. Different sects have different training times and methods. It was not the right time to come, and Adam could only nod with regret, but since he was here, he still wanted to visit the Tianhao Temple. After paying homage to Mazu and adding some money for incense, Adam couldn't help but feel a little lost in thought while looking at the amulet in his hand. Is this really effective? Of course, it was impossible to say this casually in the Xianhao Palace, but Adam asked the two brothers of the Yun family after they walked out of the mountain gate. Forehead. Yun Yan returned to silence for a moment. Although Xianhao Palace is considered a bin sect in Fujian, it shouldn't give away the real thing to others casually. This sincerity will work. Chapter 429, Lotus World, Golden Light Escape Technique. This time I really feasted my eyes. It was worth the trip. After walking out of Kayun Temple, Adam sighed. After the first experience, Adam knew to do his homework in advance when he visited Kayun Temple and Confucian Temple. He also went to Xianhao Palace again and finally successfully saw the scene of the three religions practicing. The practitioners of Xianhao Palace and Confucian Temple lived directly in the building complex and agreed to Adam's request to visit very happily. Kayun Temple was a bit troublesome because the monks there lived in seclusion in a special space called the Lotus World, but it was not too troublesome. Probably because the office helped a little. The master of Kayun Temple said that he welcomed Adam to visit that afternoon the Lotus World, the pure land on earth. Saw the space means of China with his own eyes. Compared with the space magic of the West, it is indeed unique, different from the way of expanding the real space more widely like the traceless extension spell. That special space is more like a small space that is attached to the real space but exists independently, like the room of requirement. Moreover, the power that supports the existence of the special space seems to be not only magic power or mana, ki and other energies. Adam saw traces of emotional power in it, and also power similar to contract magic. Is it faith? Or something else? It is precisely because of these special powers that the scenery in that special space is different from the outside world, but it is manifested as a Buddhist world that cannot appear in reality. After careful observation, Adam felt that this method and the method of creating the House of Requests have many similarities in the fundamental world rules. I can study it again when I have time later. Maybe I can use this special method to create a two-dimensional pure land. In addition to the unexpected surprise of the Lotus World, Adam has also seen the cultivation scenes of the three religions. How to say? I was a little disappointed at first. Adam originally thought it would be very cool. Even if there was no Tai Chi or Buddha statue projection, there should at least be some flames and golden lights. But in fact, what he saw was that most of the disciples were meditating and standing, without any sound and light special effects. Maybe he knew what he was thinking, but before he left the Xianhao Temple, he successfully saw the scene of the Taoist disciples painting talismans on the altar. This time, it was the real thing. A young Taoist priest also gave him a talisman with the pure heart mantra. In addition, He also saw the Confucian disciples of the Confucian temple racing. Oh no, it was the scene of teaching imperial art. The carriage pulled by the wooden horse could not only move, but also drift, which really opened Adam's eyes. Isn't this a worthwhile trip, Yun? Yan Hu drove the way back to Xiamen province, and Yun Jinshu is responsible for chatting with Adam to relieve his boredom. Fujian is relatively peaceful now, and there are basically few outstanding young people. It is impossible for the seniors to come out and perform for you like Mr. Yingshu. The championship will be truly exciting later, Mr. Yingshu is the Confucian practitioner who drifted the carriage, and he was also the manager of the Confucian temple. After hearing what Yun Jinshu said, Adam realized that he usually would not demonstrate to the students in person. Today, it was mainly because of him that he personally took part in the battle. Then, I really have to look forward to seeing the young talents tomorrow. The official start of the championship will have to wait until 3 days later, but in fact, the contestants usually arrive 2 or 3 days in advance to familiarize themselves with a local climate and environment. Although they have special abilities to protect themselves, China is vast, unlike Europe and the United States, where the climate is relatively uniform across the country. It is inevitable that they will be affected by acclimatization if they enter the competition right after arriving. Adam and his party arrived in Xiamen province that afternoon, had a seafood meal in the evening, and went to bed early. There was no conversation all night. The next morning, Adam and Yun Jinshu sat on the sofa on the first floor, one of them holding an orange in his hand, and watched the people in the office outside the door draw lines and put flags on the ground with great interest. What are you doing? Set up a beacon formation to help the various sects that come here to determine the target location. The sects have to come from all over the world, and the teams are large and small. If there is a slight deviation, it will be troublesome if they appear directly on the main road when they come, Yun Jinshu explained, and saw the office staff standing aside after finishing, looking down at the watch, and then said, "It seems that the time for the first group of people has come." Before he finished speaking, a golden light fell from the sky in an instant. Right in the formation, Adam looked at the golden light and a group of Taoists appeared after the golden light fell to the ground, and couldn't help guessing, is this the golden light that can fly to the ground? No, that is the golden light escape technique, which is slower than the golden light that can fly to the ground, but it is easier to learn, Yun Jinshu explained in a low voice. Although this kind of words are true, there is still a sense of belittling the other party, and it is definitely not good to say it loudly. However, even though he lowered his voice, someone in the group of Taoist priests outside seemed to have heard it. The middle-aged Taoist priest in the lead walked into the door with a bad face and looked at Adam and the others at first sight. After just a quick glance, the other party's eyes stopped on Yun Jinshu. "So you are a disciple of Shushan. Shushan sword escape is famous all over the world. No wonder you look down on my Baiyun Temple's golden light escape." Yun Jinshu was a little embarrassed when he heard it. He stood up and saluted. Just when he was about to say something, he saw the other party walking away with the disciples behind him. This Taoist priest seems to have a bad temper. Adam swallowed the orange slice in his mouth and blinked, looking at Yun Jinshu. "The Baiyun Temple he mentioned, could it be? It's not that Baiyun Temple, that's the ancestral temple of the Kwanzan Longmen sect. How could there be only a few people here, and they're the first in line?" Yun Jinshu obviously knew that the first impression of this name would definitely be the Baiyun Temple in the capital. He shook his head and sat back to explain. This Baiyun Temple was founded by a senior who got the inheritance of the golden escape technique from somewhere in the early years. It's called the Taoist Temple, but in fact it was founded by borrowing an empty Taoist temple. Yun Jinshu glanced at the stairs and said, "That senior took in a few disciples and left the inheritance before going to the battlefield to fight against the Japanese. Later, several of the senior's direct disciples also went to the battlefield. For this reason, even if the younger disciples are not good, everyone will give them some face when they go out." "I see." Adam nodded. It sounds like that senior was probably entrusted with the inheritance, and the person who entrusted him with the inheritance probably also went to the battlefield. Then he couldn't help but wonder if everyone's leniency towards Baiyun Temple was also the reason why their younger disciples were not good enough. While thinking, Adam finished eating the orange and took out a handful of melon seeds from his pocket. Yun Jinshu? Although he had known for a long time that Adam could use magic similar to the sleeves, every time Adam took out a new kind of food from his pocket, Yun Jinshu couldn't help but be surprised. How many kinds of food does Adam have in his pocket? Chapter 435 Elements Escape Technique. Spirit Beast Sect. Seeing Yoon Jinshu's idea, Adam thought for a moment, put the melon seeds on the small round table beside him, looked at Yoon Jinshu and said, "What do you want to eat?" I don't need it, just eat oranges." Yoon Jinshu picked up the half orange that was placed beside him when he stood up just now, and waved to Adam. "Oh, don't be polite. Apple? Pear? Apricot? Loquat? They are all sweet and juicy in a blink of an eye." There were many fruits on the small round table. Adam even took out a bunch of grapes and a branch of longan from his pocket. Yoon Jinshu's eyes widened seeing Adam was about to take out a cantaloupe. Yoon Jinshu quickly reached out to stop him. "No, no, no, these fruits on the table don't need to be eaten after breakfast. Great sage, please retract your magic power." "Huh? What magic power?" Yoon Yanhu, who went out to buy breakfast, came back and heard Yoon Jinshu yelling before he stepped into the door. After entering the door, he saw the fruit on the table and couldn't help but be stunned. "What are you? The great sage just transformed the fruit from Huaguo Mountain. Try it." Yoon Jinshu grabbed a peach and handed it to Yoon Yanhu, who was very upset. "What the hell is this? Where should I put breakfast?" "Put it here." Adam reached out and took the orange peel peeled by Yoon Jinshu, and a silent and wandless transformation spell turned the orange peel into a table. Yoon Yanhu put down the breakfast, touched the tabletop, and couldn't help but feel surprised. The transformation technique of Western magic is indeed unique. In order to facilitate the viewing, the three decided to have breakfast in the reception area on the first floor. Not long after, Adam saw groups of major sects that came in various ways. Most of them used the 5 elements escape technique, because the 5 elements escape technique is the most widely spread in China, and it is relatively easy to get started, but whether you can master it is another matter. Some sects still had black smoke rising after appearing in the flames. It turned out that the clothes of 2 disciples who were not good at learning were mostly burned by the fire. Fortunately, the 2 disciples were male and were carried upstairs by the old man who was probably the master of the other party. Some sects appeared with almost no trace, only the sleeves wet by the mist and the faint tea fragrance when they passed by. According to Yoon Yanhu, it was said that it was passed down from the sect of the tea St. Louis. Compared with other water escapes that mostly require the whole body to be immersed in water, this escape technique with tea as the medium is unique in elegance. In addition, although the speed of this tea escape technique, which was derived from the water escape technique, is not as fast as many advanced water escape techniques, it is better in that it does not rely much on water veins. Even in places where there are no water veins, as long as there is a cup of tea within 1,000 miles, it can be used to escape. Adam was amazed when he heard it. Although the championship has not started yet, the way everyone arrived is enough to open his eyes. Suddenly, there was a new movement outside the door. Adam quickly bit off the noodles in his mouth and turned his head to look, but found that the way the sect came this time, he knew it. 3 huge cats rushed out of the void one after another, each carrying 2 people on their backs. Looking at the long tails of the big cats swinging in the air, Adam couldn't help but said in surprise, "Zuwu, do you still know Zuwu?" Yoon Jinshu was a little surprised. This thing seems to be a specialty of China. Yoon Jinshu obviously hasn't seen fantastic beasts and where to find them, but this is not important. The important thing is that the appearance of Zuwu reminded Adam of something. By the way, do you know if there are any channels to buy magical animals in China? Looking at Adam's curious and expectant eyes, Yoon Jinshu was stunned for a moment, and pointed to the 6 people who had just handed Zuwu to the staff and were about to enter the gate and said, "It just so happens that the people from the spiritual beast sect are doing this business, but if you want to buy it, you need to apply for the corresponding certificates. This should not be a problem for you." According to Adam's favorability in the office, as long as he's not doing large-scale reselling, the speed of getting such certificates should be faster than the speed at which the spiritual beast sect transports the corresponding spiritual beasts, that is, magical animals. "Huh? Are you here for business?" The leader of the spiritual beast sect was a middle-aged man wearing a blue striped shirt. At first glance, Adam reminded him of the dean of his elementary school in his previous life. He slowed down his pace when he heard this, but frowned when he saw Adam's foreign appearance, and a little confusion flashed in his eyes. "Senior. This is it." Yoon Yanhu walked up to explain Adam's situation to the other party after a slight surprise. "Senior." She looked at Adam with a friendly look. "So you are an international friend. If you want to buy a spiritual beast, just go to the spiritual beast sect. After the tournament, come to our spiritual beast sect. Pick whatever you like." "Old she, We'll give it to you. Seeing that the other party was so friendly, Adam also stood up and talked to the other party. It was impossible to get it for free. If it was just one or two, it would be fine. The problem was that he wanted to buy a lot of spiritual beasts. To be honest, he was very curious about the spiritual beasts in China. Due to historical reasons, Professor Scamander did not visit many places in China when he wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which led to him not knowing much about the spiritual beasts in China. Not to mention anything else, just look at Classic of Mountains and Seas and you will know that most of these spiritual beasts are edible. By the way, does the spiritual beast sect have mountain leopards for sale? At the end of the conversation, Adam couldn't help asking. If the spiritual beast sect didn't have it, he would have to find Yun Jinshu and Yun Yanhu to think of a solution. Shanpi? Yes. But this kind of spiritual beast is not like a panda. It has a very fierce temper and is very strong. You have to be mentally prepared, senior. She was not only very familiar with Shanpi, but he also gave a special warning. Obviously, as the reputation of the panda has been spread, many practitioners have thought about raising a mountain pit, but there is a reason why the mountain pit is not as rare as the panda. As long as you have it, other problems are not a problem. After confirming that he could acquire Shanpi, Adam still had a smile on his face when Senior Shi went upstairs. Yun Jinshu couldn't help but said, "Adam, you like pandas very much?" Apart from loving Wuderwu because of its similar appearance to panda, probably not many people would like the fierce mountain pit, right? Of course, is there anyone who doesn't like pandas? Adam sighed. In his previous life, he had waited in line for a long time and finally saw a panda. Unfortunately, he only saw a panda for a few minutes before he had to give up his seat to the tourists behind him. Panda. When I was in Shushan when I was a kid, I didn't think this thing was that cute. You can see it occasionally in the surrounding mountains. Yun Jinshu also sighed. At that time, I thought it was just a black and white bear. It was only different from other bears in color. But now when I enter the zoo, a group of people praise it for being cute. I don't know what you think, Adam. It's different. The pandas near Shushan are full of ferocity and naturally not cute. Before Adam could angrily scold him for being in the midst of blessings and not knowing how to be blessed, Yun Yan spoke back and said, "But the pandas that grew up in the zoo are different. I have seen them, and their eyes are clear and lively. They are really cute." Chapter 431 The Gongshu family who rubs cars with their hands. From morning to night, people came out of the beacon formation one after another. How long will this continue? Adam yawned and turned to look at Yun Jinshu. If Adam was still very interested at the beginning, after watching it for a long time, his interest had greatly diminished, and now he was just playing outside. The main reason is that the methods used by most sects are too uniform, except for the 5 elements escape technique or the 5 elements escape technique. Among them, the T-Sage inheritance is so unique that I have not seen another one until now. This is no longer a question of whether you are tired of it or not. Already watched it for a while. As for the very few sects, their methods are indeed much better than the simple 5 elements escape technique. The golden light is there in a flash. This is the legendary golden light talisman. That's right, these are the sects in the inheritance that don't have the ability to escape thousands of miles, so they directly borrowed a vertical golden light talisman from the office to travel. Well, it will last until tomorrow night, Yun Jinshu recalled. This year, because the contestants are quite special, many sects feel that they have no hope of reaching the second round, so they simply let their disciples wait for the next round, so there are fewer sects coming. Isn't this enough? Adam just finished speaking, and then sighed. Yes, given the vastness of China, with the 3 religions and 9 sects and sects put together, it takes an average of 10 or 20 minutes to visit one sect and lasts only 2 days, which is indeed a long time. I guess the reason why everyone uses escape skills to come here is not just to save time, but some kind of invisible standard. If you want to participate in the competition, you must at least be able to come here, and those sects that borrowed a golden light talisman to come are special cases, and they are probably the sects with special abilities. Adam was just thinking about what to eat for midnight snack when he heard the sound of a car braking outside. Hearing this movement, Adam turned his head slightly and saw a strange-looking car parked outside. After the door opened, 4 men, 1 old, 3 young and young, came out wearing coarse cloth. After seeing the group of people saying something to the driver, they actually walked straight towards the gate. They seemed to be coming to compete. Adam was a little surprised. There are actually people driving here. By the way, What brand is this car? Not only did the car have a strange appearance, but its logo was also a weird polygon. Adam couldn't recognize it for a while. Is that a car built by Gong Shujia? I heard that Gong Shujia has been obsessed with Western high-tech products these years. Yoon Jinshu touched his chin and guessed, if it were a purely car-shaped mechanical structure, it wouldn't be difficult for the public to build one by hand. I don't know what they used to replace the internal combustion engine and battery. Shut your mouth. This is a real car. The young man walking at the front couldn't help but glare at Yoon Jinshu when he heard what he said. The technical content is much higher than those of your fire tongs. The burning tongs are the red flame flying forks, right? Adam blinked and remembered Yoon Jinshu's weapon. It sounded like this young man knew Yoon Jinshu. No, not just acquaintance, but also very familiar. Otherwise he wouldn't have said such hurtful words, judging from the words that were swallowed back. If there were no family members and elders here, the other party's words would be more outrageous. Ha! Yoon Jinshu sneered at this. Being able to build one car is not a skill, but being able to mass-produce hundreds or thousands is. And can your car apply for a patent? Does it burn oil or firewood? Wait. Why do I feel that your car burns oil? Where's the key one? The young man was so angry that his face turned red. Oh, Adam's eyes lit up. Each party in China has its own name for the energy in the body. People in the Taoist sect generally call it qi, while wizards call this power magic power, which is actually the same thing. So this car is powered by magic power? Isn't this what he wants the wizards to study? A new technology tree that combines traditional mechanical technology with mysterious side powers? The British Ministry of Magic hasn't even officially gotten on the right track yet, but the Chinese side has already produced results. Adam turned his head, but unfortunately the car had already driven away. After thinking for a while, Adam chose to ask directly, "Can I see that burning car?" The young man looked at Adam and couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Foreigner? It's a foreign friend. When it came to Adam, Yoon Jinshu's attitude was not as casual as before, and he introduced Adam's identity. So, you are Mr. Adam. Not only the young man, but also the group of people from the public loser saluted towards Adam. Don't dare to take it seriously. The others forgot about it. Even the old man with a gray beard saluted him, and Adam quickly stood up to support him. But why does the other party seem to have heard of me? I am currently repairing the cultural relics you sent back. Mr. Guangshu seemed to have noticed Adam's doubts and took the initiative to explain. I see. Adam suddenly understood, but Guangshu Ban seems to be the ancestor of carpenters and architects. At most, he seems to be the ancestor of a theater troupe. How come Guangshu Ban's skills also include the restoration of cultural relics? Anyway, with this relationship, Adam's request to see the car made by Guangshu was approved very smoothly. But at this time the car had been driven to a nearby parking lot by the son of Guangshu. Guangshu wanted to take them there in person, but Adam refused. He just wanted to take a look, and there was no need to dismantle the car for inspection. Now it was dark, and the old man was tired from the journey and should go to rest early. After insisting several times without success, the old man had to ask the son of Guangshu, who was familiar with Yoon Jinshu, to take him and Yoon Jinshu there. Let me introduce you. This is Guangshu Chi, ranked third among the younger generation of Guangshu. Yoon Jinshu introduced Adam on the way. The third oldest, Guangshu Chi, emphasized, and then nodded to Adam. I have heard of your name for a long time, Mr. Adam. Your Chinese is really good. Thank you for the compliment, Adam replied with a smile, and he couldn't help but be curious about a car that could be powered by qi. I don't know if this car has parts that can store qi or can only input qi in real time as power. If such technology is stable enough, then if you put an Osmo in it, wouldn't ordinary people be able to drive it? As for stealing Guangshujia's technology being immoral, Adam is not stealing. Guangshujia is now cracking the technology of car manufacturing. He can go to Sakura and exchange the technology of Toyota, Nissan, Mazda and other companies with Guangshujia, so that both sides will not lose. Toyota U0026 Nissan U0026 Mazda? Fortunately, the parking lot is not far away, and Adam did not reveal that he was distracted during the communication. Huh? Why are you back? Who are these two? The person in charge of parking had not walked far away. He saw the three people walking over here and couldn't help asking. Just as Guangshuji and the others were explaining, Adam's eyes had already fallen on the car made by Guangshujia. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432, Entering the Aging Cultivation World Early. Adam, touching his chin, looked at the car made by Gong Shujie solemnly. Mr. Adam, do you really not need me to disassemble it? I can still put the outer parts back together, so I won't bother you, Gongshu. She couldn't help but wipe his forehead. He was very puzzled by Adam's behavior of staring at the car shell for more than 10 minutes. He couldn't understand what Adam was doing. Even if he wanted to study how Gong Shujie made this car, he had to open the hood, right? After hearing what Gong Shujie said, Adam shook his head. There was no need, because he couldn't understand it at all. Before, Adam was so excited that he forgot that his knowledge of car manufacturing was not as good as Gong Shujie's. At least he did study various parts of the car, and his understanding of the internal structure of the car, except for the parts that he could touch as a passenger in daily life, he only knew that the hood could be opened. This led to the fact that although there were normal cars nearby for comparison, Adam could see the difference between Gong Shujie's car and normal cars, but he didn't know what these differences were used for. Sure enough, he still had to get the normal car manufacturing technology first, but he was very busy for a while afterwards. Wait, why must he do this himself? He had already thrown the research and development to others before. Thinking of this, Adam's thoughts became clear. All of a sudden, problems like this can be handed over to Mr. Arthur Weasley. The statute of confidentiality is going to be broken, and the Office for the Prohibition of the Misuse of Muggle Artifacts naturally doesn't need to exist. It's better to change it to the Department of Magical Technology, and what he has to do is just like Fred and George, just responsible for purchasing the original tedious work. Suddenly only left a trip to the cherry blossoms. Speaking of which, Akihabara at this time seemed to have vaguely become the future second-dimensional Holy Land. Feeling a lot more relaxed, Adam's expression also looked much better. We've seen enough, let's go back, Gongshu. Chi hesitated a little. After all, in his opinion, Adam looked like he had gained nothing. No matter how he thought about it, Adam had only stared at the car shell for several minutes. If his grandfather knew that he had only let Mr. Adam look at the car shell tonight, wouldn't his butt be beaten into 16 pieces by his grandfather? It doesn't matter, I've seen enough. Even if I open it, I can't understand those complicated things. Adam comforted him. Maybe we can cooperate in the future. Cooperation between the Ministry of Magic and Gong Shujie. Oh, okay, Gongshu. She didn't know what cooperation Adam meant, but cooperating with a country's Ministry of Magic was not something he should consider. Seeing that Adam was serious, he felt relieved. Back to the accommodation. There was no conversation that night, and 2 days passed in a blink of an eye. In the past 2 days, Adam did not guard the first floor door all the time. He went out to play when he should. The escape techniques of each family are probably the same. If there are special sects that have missed their methods, they will be seen during the tournament anyway. Well, it's right to follow the old lady who comes out to buy vegetables early in the morning. The shacha noodles in this restaurant are especially delicious. Adam wiped his mouth with a satisfied look on his face. A serving of shacha noodles, add oysters, pig heart, duck blood, tofu to the noodles, and a cut fried dough. Stick to the plate, dip it in the noodle soup and eat it. You can eat this noodle, and you won't say a word. It seems that there are many people at the shark bowl next door. Let's go and try it. Okay. Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yen, who are very familiar with and used to Adam's appetite, which is completely inconsistent with his appearance now. Basically, Adam orders a large portion and they order a small portion. Adam orders one portion and they eat one portion, so that Adam will not be too embarrassed to eat alone. The white shark balls floated in the clear and transparent soup, embellished with a few slices of chopped green onions. It seemed too bland, but in fact, it was because the ingredients themselves were delicious enough that no additional seasoning was needed. Just a little bit of pepper to remove the fishy smell could inspire the soul of the shark balls. Adam and the other two had a great time. Again, this kind of stall with a group of old men and women queuing at the exit of the vegetable market. As long as the price is not obviously cheaper than the surrounding shops, then the taste is better than those restaurants. After eating the shark balls, Adam bought 2 more oil cakes and a portion of glutinous rice cakes, and then walked back slowly with a bowl of iced peanut soup in a foam plastic bowl. The formation has been removed. It seems that everyone has arrived. Adam glanced at the people who were either exercising or chatting near the first floor. After observing intermittently over the past few days, Adam discovered something, that is, there is something wrong with the number of people in each sect and the composition of the personnel. Although there are many sects, there are very few people from each sect. It is rare to see an elder with 4 juniors like Guang Shujia. Most of the time, there are only 1 or 2 juniors. If we explain it as only contestants, there are 3 or 4 elders who come with them for more than 90% of the participating sects. The number of elders in the team is more than the number of juniors looking around. The National Wushu Championship, which Yun Jinshu called a grand event for the young generation, looked like a meeting at a community senior activity room, and those young people seemed to be accompanying them. Adam recalled the growth process of children with cultivation talents in China. After being detected as having cultivation talents, they first entered the primary school opened by the office, and then after a wave of diversion, some went to ordinary middle schools and lived a life no different from ordinary people. After graduating from junior high school, there was another diversion, and some people chose to live an ordinary life. Some of them may have figured out that they want to take another path to serve the country, or some may have come to realize that they are not good at cultivation regardless of whether they have had prior contact before. At this stage, these remaining children can be accepted by various sects, and some of them have to exclude those who are divided by official institutions such as special military academies. In this way, it is really difficult for these sects in China to prosper. It is okay for the famous sects such as Xianxi Mansion, and it is not impossible for those small sects to not receive disciples for several years. Thinking about it this way, China's cultivation world has already entered an aging society ahead of this country. As his understanding of China's cultivation world gradually became clearer, Adam's eyes fell on a group of bald men in the crowd. To be honest, bald men are quite common here. Buddhism is one of the 3 religions after all, and it is more widely spread among the people than Taoism. But it was a bit strange that a group of bald men surrounded a young man who had not shaved his head and seemed very excited. Chapter 433 Competition Arrangement. That's a disciple of Zen Master Wu said of Zilin Temple. His name is Empty, Seeing. Adam, stop and look over there, Yun Jinshu explained to Adam. Because he studied abroad, he was not ordained even though he had already started, well, Lushan. Zilin Temple. There are Donglin Temple and Zilin Temple on Lushan Mountain. Among Buddhists, Donglin Temple is more famous because it is the ancestral home of the Pure Land sect. However, for ordinary people, Zilin Temple should be more famous because there is a that must be recited here. Inscribed on Zilinbi, I don't know the true face of Mount Lu. Just because I am in this mountain, Adam was suddenly attacked by the memory of the dead, and was in a daze for a moment. Yun Jinshu was a little surprised after hearing this. Adam, you are really knowledgeable and talented. It is very rare for foreigners in this era to be able to speak fluent Chinese, let alone recite poetry, and the poems they recite are not among the 300 Tang poems. Adam shook his head and did not explain anything, but became somewhat interested in this Kong as a practitioner. Since I have chosen to join the sect, but I am also studying abroad, I know that what the other person is studying abroad is definitely not Western magic. Doesn't Master Wu said have any objection? Judging from the attitude of those Buddhist disciples, it seems that not only do they have no objection, but the other party's status is quite high in the eyes of the Buddhist disciples. Adam took a sip of peanut soup and turned to ask Yun Jinshu, since he has chosen to worship at Zilin Temple, why does Master Liao Kong want to study abroad? Well, I'm not very clear about this, Yun Jinshu doesn't know everything, at least he doesn't know the answer to this question. I'll ask later. No need, I just asked casually when I saw it. Adam didn't want to make matters worse, and the main thing was to start watching the championship tomorrow. The 2 of them stepped through the gate one after another. It was also at this time that Kong, who was surrounded by many Buddhist disciples, glanced over. Huh? That's Liao. Kong blinked. Is that figure a foreigner? Why does it look familiar? While responding to questions from people around him, Ling Kong recalled something. He seemed to have seen the other party in the British Daily Prophet, but the specific report, what was it? On the other side, Adam didn't know that Sora would actually have an impression on him. After returning to the room, he finished the food he had packed, and took out the parchment for the group chat among the 5 and chatted with everyone for a while, then hugged the pair. The anticipation of the tournament the day after tomorrow fell into dreamland. Early the next morning, Yun Jinshu came to him with detailed information about Kong. Don't worry, I asked my uncle for information. I didn't bother anyone else, and I didn't let Kong know. Naturally, Shushan also has a team coming to compete, and the person leading the team is Yun Jinshu's uncle, who happens to know something about Kong Kong. Thanks. Unexpectedly, Yoon Jinshu went to investigate anyway. It would be a waste if he didn't listen to the information he had already obtained. Adam could only express his gratitude, speaking of this. Sora, it has something to do with you. Oh, Adam showed doubts at the right time, and Yoon Jinshu then explained, the school he studied in is in the UK. It's Oxford University in the UK. I heard that the UK is not big. Maybe you have met him on the street. Maybe, compared to China, Britain is indeed not that big, but it is not that small. Moreover, Adam recalled the scope of his activities. The probability that they would intersect was really low, unless the school where Sora studied abroad was Hogwarts. Speaking of which school did he study in? As a Buddhist disciple who is also a practitioner, what will he study abroad? But Adam also had to consider the possibility that Yoon Jinshu might not have inquired so carefully. However, Yoon Jinshu's ability to inquire for information obviously did not disappoint Adam. Oxford University, majoring in economics and management. Economic management. Adam admitted that this major was indeed something he had not thought of before. He was more guessing about majors such as biomedicine, which were somehow related to spiritual practice. He even guessed about law and mathematics. What the hell is economic management? I don't know the specifics, but I heard that this major is about making money, and Liao Kong is really good at making money. The Zilin Temple, which was originally in disrepair, has been renovated, and there are more pilgrims than the Donglin Temple next door. Much more. Yoon Jinshu sighed as he spoke. Taoist temples still have disadvantages compared to Buddhist temples in terms of making money. Now the gap is even bigger. Go back and talk to the master, or else send your junior brother there to further study how to make money. Listening to Yoon Jinshu's words, Adam's eyes twitched, not to mention that economics and management are not completely equal to how to make money. Oxford University is not that easy to pass. The disciple who came to Shushan. I hope he is okay, but I have to say that such a piece of information really made Adam's interest in Sora subside a lot. Could it be that Zen Master Wu Sa took Kong as his disciple because he had a talent for making money? This is not completely impossible. Between the talent for making money and the talent for cultivation, I really can't tell which one is more popular. The matter of Kong was quickly put aside by Adam. Even if he was interested, it was only a temporary interest. Relatively speaking, he still preferred to watch the practitioners fight, especially the Chinese practitioners. Adam has been looking forward to it for a long time. The schedule of the championship is relatively long. The first few days are 5-to-1 knockout matches, and then there will be one-on-one arena matches. Yoon Jinshu came over with a folded booklet and spread it out on the table. This is the roster for the first round. I asked them to print an extra one. This booklet is 2 centimeters thick. When you pull it open, it almost looks like a map of mountains and rivers. It is enough to see how many sects there are, but the first round is a direct elimination round of 5-person melee, and the loser will be eliminated in the first round. The rules of this tournament are very cruel. Adam took a cursory glance. And how are they assigned? If they happen to be assigned to 4 strong opponents, wouldn't they go directly to the semifinals in the first round? The allocation is said to be based on drawing lots, but it should not be completely random. Those strong players will be separated in each session, and different players from the same sect will also be separated. Yoon Jinshu looked at Yoon Yen and replied, we didn't meet each other in the last term until we were 4th and 2nd. However, the specific arrangements will not be made public. If you have any objections, you can go to the office leader. As for the schedule, there is nothing we can do about it. Except for the top 10 sects of the previous session, which do not have to participate in the first round. The remaining players will have to compete in a total of 74 games if they advance to 1 or 2. How long will it take to fight slowly? Yoon Yen took over the conversation. Most of the martial arts that come to participate are indeed at the level of 1 round. After being eliminated in the first round, they can just relax and be spectators without having to be tense all the time. This, although it's a bit cruel, it's surreal. Chapter 434, Splitting the East Tower, Reaching the Famous Cave. The tournament was held at Gyeongkyeon Stadium, where the office set up a formation to reinforce the venue, so that the contestants could give full play to their abilities. Adam and his group of pure spectators were the first to enter the venue. After they sat down, Yoon Jinshu pointed to the high platform in front and explained to Adam, that's the referee seat. Although the winner is usually very obvious, Sometimes there are some special situations that require the referee to make the decision. For example, in the case where both sides exploded at the same time, and all the means were used, and in the end, only two figures fell to the ground after a puff of dust, the referee was needed to explain the specific details. In addition, the referee is also responsible for controlling the game in the field so that it does not get out of control and try to prevent deaths. However, although this is said, generally speaking, as long as the contestants do not use too outrageous means, the referee will not take the initiative to intervene in the game, and in the process of such a fierce battle, it is difficult to grasp the timing of the referee's intervention. If it is too early, it is unclear whether it is malicious interference in the game, and if it is too late, one side will be gone. So even if there is an accident, everyone will not be too harsh on the referee. The establishment of the referee is mainly to prevent some accidents with clear timing. For example, one side surrenders when seeing no hope of winning, but the other side can't stop during the waiting process. Adam showed his pocket that could take out a lot of food, but it didn't take long before the teams of various sects entered the field, and a middle-aged man sat on the referee's seat. That's Senior Qin, the descendant of Qin Yuan. Yoon Jinshu introduced in a low voice Qin Yuan. This name may not be so popular, compared with his stage name. Byink was a genius doctor during the Yellow Emperor period. Because Qin Yuan's medical skills were superb, people also called him Byink, similar to the descendants praising some doctors with superb medical skills as Byink reincarnation. However, Qin Yuan's descendants can be doctors, but as referees, can they stop the players who can't stop? If Qin Yuan himself was very good at fighting, he wouldn't be killed by the assassin. Adam looked at Senior Qin in confusion. The first match is about to begin. Please enter the venue as soon as possible. The voice of Senior Qin was loud and powerful, reaching every corner of the gymnasium. It was not harsh to the front row, but it was also clearly heard in the back row. With this move alone, Senior Qin has demonstrated his exquisite ability to control ki. In comparison, it would be more difficult to control the loud spell so well, but it is also much easier to learn than this skill. The magic of China and the magic of the West are both explanations of the rules of the world, but in different ways. Adam is learning from each other while opening his eyes and watching the excitement. Not long after, the 5 contestants were already standing on the field in the center of the gymnasium. Adam glanced at the list of contestants in his hand. Very good, he had never heard of any of the 5 sects. This Donggao Valley, is the sect really built in the valley? Looking at one of the names, Adam couldn't help asking Yoon Jinshu beside him. Yoon Jinshu was not clear about this, and obviously did not know much about this sect, but Yoon Yan did know. It was before, but later they had to build a dam, so they moved. I heard that the office gave them a lot of money. Adam blinked, so they made a decision that went against their ancestors. There is no way. There is no water or electricity in the valley. The scenery is indeed beautiful, but there are no people for dozens of miles. They live a life of carrying water, chopping wood, and growing their own food. No one is willing to become a disciple. Yoon Yan who shook his head. Moving the sect away to recruit disciples is too much against the ancestors. In comparison, it sounds better for national construction, and their quality of life is definitely much better than that of their predecessors. Oh, it's starting. Adam was about to nod in agreement with Yoon Jinshu's words, but when he heard it was starting, he immediately turned his head and looked at the center of the venue. At first, the 5 people were deadlocked for a while. After all, no one wanted to be the first to take action and attract the siege of the other 4, but then one of them suddenly attacked. When the man raised his hand, Adam saw the magic power gathered in the man's palm, and turned into the shape of a palm as the man pushed out his palm. Splitting palm is one of the most common skills. Judging from the posture, it seems to be from the Donglao school. Hearing Yoon Jinshu say this, Adam looked down and saw that there was indeed a Donglao school member among the 5 people in the first match, named Han Wei. Can you really tell the posture from that little movement? Adam was a little curious from his point of view. The opponent's action of launching the splitting palm seemed to have nothing special. It was mainly the structure of the palm composed of energy. The power and effect of the splitting palm with different structures were also different. The energy utilization rate of Han Wei's splitting palm is only about 40%. Adam couldn't help but deduce it in his mind and got a model that could theoretically achieve 100% utilization rate, but whether it can be used in actual combat is another matter. Listen to his nonsense. Although the splitting palm is common, There are not many schools that are called splitting palms, and there are even fewer who are confident enough to use it in such an occasion. The most important thing is, Yun Yan, who spoke and pointed at Han Wei's shirt. There are the words Han Wei of Donglao School on his collar. Adam? Adam looked closely and it is impossible for normal people to see what is written on the collar of a person fighting from such a distance, but Yun Jinshu and the others are practicing flying swords. After being exposed, Yun Jinshu smiled awkwardly, then said with respect, "Hey." At first, I thought Han Wei had taken the lead and beat the other four with his own strength. I thought he was the strongest among the five, but upon closer inspection, the one with the sword seemed to have a better chance of winning. When Adam heard the words, he looked over and saw Han Wei chopping the air with his palm, creating a majestic momentum. The palm prints were condensed in the air without scattering, and there was a whisper of wind when it fell in front of him. The three players were suppressed with great difficulty. They could only break through the flying palms again and again, but they could not fight back at all. All of them looked ugly and were sweating profusely. On the other hand, Han Wei, even if the air-splitting palm he fired was broken, about 20% of the energy contained in it could still be returned to Han Wei's control, and it would soon be condensed into palm print again. Is this ability to reuse energy a special effect of that structure? Looking at the model he built, Adam definitely doesn't have this effect. Sure enough, he still can't underestimate the world's heroes. Although he currently has the upper hand, Han Wei did not show a confident smile because of this. The reason was because of the sword player mentioned by Yun Jinshu. A long sword danced not too fast in his hand, but it spread out layers of water like sword light, blocking and disintegrating Han Wei's palm prints. In Adam's eyes, the palm prints that were disintegrated by the sword light were actually enveloped by the sword light after disintegrating into energy. Although it did not add much to the power of the sword light, it did not return to Han Wei's control at all. Adam looked at Yun Jinshu. Which faction is this? Forward, Yun. Jinshu scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. Why did the topic come back again? Adam couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect Yun Jinshu to know. He was just teasing him, but he didn't expect Yun Yan to speak back. This is what you asked about just now, Dongyaogu's Himing Sword Technique. Chapter 435 Classic Insulated Blue Plastic Box. The moon matches yang, containing emptiness and brightness. The lake is still, and the body is soft and flat. The virtue of the moon is also bright and sharp, and the nature of water is also soft and quiet. The characteristics of this Himing Sword Technique came from Yun Yan, whose mouth, however, after finishing speaking, Yun Yan looked back at the blank-eyed Yun Jinshu and the foreign-looking Adam, and after a moment of silence, he said, "It means, it's okay, I basically understand." Adam waved his hand. The combination of virtuality and reality, as calm as water. This Himing Sword Technique is good at attacking from behind and overcoming hardness with softness, which is perfect for restraining the air-splitting palm. Yun Jinshu, who basically didn't understand? No, who is the foreigner? Do you really understand? Why didn't I understand? If you don't understand, don't hold on. If Adam takes a look at Yun Jinshu, he can see his messy mood at this time, but the main object of his observation now is the disciple of Cave Valley. Judging from the list of entries, his name is Li Fumin, a very ordinary and even tacky name, but he did not expect to have such strength on the field. Han Wei obviously also saw that Li Fumin was difficult to deal with, so he let go of his suppression, and focused on the other three people with a strong breath. His air-splitting palm power was 3 points stronger, and the three palms fell directly, completely defeating the defenses of the other three opponents. I give up. X3 with such neat voices admitting defeat. It was clear that the three of them had been mentally prepared. I saw the figure of Senior Kin flashing, and the three people had been snatched out of the battle circle. Han Wei's three palms missed, causing the ground to tremble slightly. What? A heavy air-splitting palm. Seeing such a wonderful scene, Yun Jinshu no longer hesitated and couldn't help but admire to be able to shake the reinforced ground, even if it only trembles slightly. Each of these three palms must have at least 4,000 to 5,000 kilograms of strength, but such an attack is not without cost. At this gap, Li Fumin, who had the opportunity to counterattack, turned his sword light, and the rippling sword light gathered into a line of swords and struck towards Han Wei. Han Wei turned sideways as he had expected. Hit Han Wei's shoulder. Adam's eyes couldn't help but flicker. The energy structure deforming in the sword light was really smooth. The current situation was what Han Wei had expected just now. He was fighting 1 against 4, but Li Fumin was waiting for work. If it dragged on, Li Fumin would definitely reap the benefits, so he forced Li Fumin to let him go first at the cost of giving Li Fumin a chance to make a move. 3 others were eliminated. Although he may not know the details of Zhi Ming's sword technique, he also knows that splitting air palm is not easy to deal with this kind of sword technique. He also knows that a sword technique with such characteristics must be inferior in terms of killing, so he might as well take advantage of the situation and sell a flaw. Betting that the other party can't defeat him at this moment. Facts have proved that Han Wei was right in his bet. After the prepared move, the sword only penetrated his shoulder, which was not serious before the blow was fully effective. Li Fumin immediately prepared to draw his sword and retreat, only to find that Han Wei tightened his muscles to prevent the sword from being drawn out. The wound suddenly opened a large area of bright red under the force. His face turned pale when he was aroused by the pain, but Han Wei made a decisive move and moved his hand without concentrating too much energy. He only used the power from the 3 failed splitting palms. Therefore, this move came extremely fast, almost in the blink of an eye. He was in front of Li Fumin, who said that splitting air palm can only be used at long range. Han Wei hit Li Fumin's chest with a hesitant move of splitting air palm, knocking him away and sending blood all over the arena. But this guy seems to be stubborn. Just now, the sword was stuck and he refused to let go. Now he is still holding on to the sword. The sword in his hand flew out with him. There was nothing blocking the wound. Han Wei, the wound even began to bleed. It was hard to say whose blood was more in the pool of blood on the ground. Is this some kind of explosive secret technique? Yun Jinshu guessed explode the secret technique. Adam took a closer look. This secret technique was quite scientific. It accelerated the blood flow and absorbed more oxygen. What a pity. Looking at Li Fumin, who was hit by a slap and unable to get up again, and was directly ruled out by the referee and taken away for treatment, Yun Yan sighed. With his strength and the characteristics of Zhi Ming swordsmanship, he had a good chance of winning, but unfortunately his combat experience is too different. Do you know him? I think you know a lot about Cave Valley. This is what the curious Yunyan asked back. I don't know him. I just met a senior from Cave Valley when I was on a mission before. The first game was a long story. It was a psychological game and a lot of moves, but in fact it only lasted less than 10 minutes, and the winner was decided after almost a dozen rounds. While Adam was sorting out his harvest, he couldn't help but ask the 2 people around him, is every game in the tournament this exciting? In previous years, the quality of this one would have been above average, but this year, Yun Yanhu shook his head. I can't say for sure. However, God is probably going to slap Yun Yanhu in the face. The next 3 games can be called Yishen and 4 rookies. Those few rookies are so bad that even Adam, who is watching the fun, can't even look at it. Yishen is. He advanced without any suspense with almost no moves. Is this an unspoken rule? Adam could hardly hold the popcorn in his hand. It's indeed an unspoken rule. Vomit. It's just, click, the unspoken rule that everyone likes to hear. Vomit. You go ahead and eat your melon seeds. Keep an eye on them and don't spit them on the ground. Yun Yanhu slapped Yun Jinshu on the back of his head while he was eating melon seeds, and then turned to explain to Adam. Generally, players who are strong and everyone knows they will definitely advance, but because the previous players are not strong enough or no one participated in the previous round, they have to participate in the 5-to-1 elimination round. They will be matched with 4 opponents who will definitely not advance, but this situation will not be common. This will avoid the situation where the first place is eliminated in the first round. Even though they have the strength to compete for the top 10, Adam couldn't help but sigh when he heard this. Looking at this problem from another angle, that is, when the list of players in the first round came out, the office responsible for arranging the games already had a rough ranking chart, and the games were arranged round by round according to this chart. It seems that the office had a good understanding of the strength of all the contestants before the game, and the only difference was probably the uncertainty of the seconds in the real battle. The morning game ended quickly. There was no clear limit on how long each game could last. So seeing that it was almost time for lunch, Senior Kin did not arrange the next game. Instead, he asked everyone to sit down. The office prepared lunch boxes for everyone. Go to the blue box next to the first row in a row and get them. 1 for each person. Don't take more. If you don't have enough, you can find a staff at the end of your area. After shouting for a whole morning, Senior Kin's voice was still so loud. Looking at the large blue plastic boxes not far below, Adam felt as if he had returned to his previous life. Chapter 436, Telepathy? Although those who need it can leave to buy food, Adam stayed and got one out of curiosity about the office lunch: scrambled eggs with tomatoes, stir-fried water spinach, cauliflower and meat slices, and a duck leg with the upper leg attached, paired with a bowl of winter melon and pork rib soup, and about 2 to 3 tails of rice, which is the amount of a lunchbox. Adam was a little surprised when he took the 8/10 full soup bowl from the staff. No wonder there was only one portion per person, and if it was not enough, he had to go to the staff. Normal people, no matter how big their appetite is, would not be full after eating this portion, but they would definitely not be hungry. Most practitioners in China have a large appetite. Yan, who saw that Adam did not start eating after sitting down, but reached out to weigh the lunchbox first, knowing that Adam was probably surprised by the amount of the lunchbox. Adam nodded. Most practitioners in China also take into account the use of energy to strengthen their bodies. It is normal to have a large appetite, and it seems that wizards also need to keep up with this. Otherwise, once you don't have a wand, you can't cast spells without a wand or with gestures, you will have no fighting power. If you think about it carefully, it is indeed not comprehensive enough. Wizards should have had ways to exercise their bodies, otherwise Gryffinder's relic would not be a sword. As for why it was not passed down, maybe it's because exercising requires a lot of food, and British local dishes really don't make people want to eat more than what is needed to maintain normal life. The food at Hogwarts is different now. In this case, let's add a physical exercise class to the basic education stage at Hogwarts. While thinking, Adam took out the chopsticks he brought and started eating. Speaking of which, this pair of chopsticks was a gift from Cologne. After tasting each dish first, Adam's eyes widened slightly. He didn't expect that the lunchbox arranged by the office tasted so good. Is this really a box lunch? I feel like some restaurants don't make it this delicious. Of course, although it's a big pot meal, the chefs in the office are all top-notch, so the taste certainly won't be bad. Jinshu ate the rice with big mouthfuls. It must be said that watching this eating scene can increase appetite. Adam also sped up his eating speed. Eating with big mouthfuls can really bring satisfaction to most people, at least for Chinese people. After eating and drinking, it was almost visible to the naked eye that the contestants' moves in the afternoon competition were less fierce. Another game that was not boring but not too special ended. Adam looked at a contestant who walked onto the field and found a familiar figure. The sky was empty. This somewhat special Buddhist disciple stood still in the field, his hands hanging naturally. Compared with the other 4 people who were on high alert and tense, there was a clear difference. Is this the calmness of the master? Adam's expression was a little subtle. He was too familiar with this scene. He was still very curious about this top student who was studying business and management while practicing Buddhism. He hoped that this time would not be the same as the previous game with 1 god and 4 noobs. The Pure Land sect is not famous for its fighting methods, and Zilin Temple has hardly heard of any famous skills inheritance. I don't know how strong this Lekin is. Adam was not the only one who had some expectations for Lekin's performance. Apparently, the other 4 players in the field also noticed that Lekin's performance was a little bit outstanding, and they attacked him first after the game started. The same voice came from all directions in the audience. One of the 4 people who attacked Lekin on the field took the lead in stabbing in Adam's eyes. The effect brought by the energy structure on the gun was very simple, but also efficient enough. Fast, it was so fast that he couldn't blink, and it was faster than the sound of breaking through the air. It was as if a section of it had grown out of thin air. As soon as the man raised the gun, the tip of the gun had reached Kong's chest. However, Lekin seemed to have anticipated this. He had already started to retreat before the man raised his gun, and his retreat was only 1 or 2 points slower than the gun. When Lekin stopped, it was just when the man's gun had exhausted all his strength. If he wanted to stab forward again, he would have to raise his strength again, which was quite fatal to the extremely fast gun. This preemptive dodge almost made people doubt whether Lekin had studied his opponent before, or knew what his opponent was like, or bribed the opponent in advance. The audience couldn't help but whisper. It's not that everyone can't stand seeing someone powerful, but the problem is that this is a bit too outrageous. You started to dodge before the other person made a move. It's not a way to be the last to strike but the first to arrive. Interesting, however, in Adam's eyes, it was another scene. There was obviously a gathering of energy in Lekin's eyes. Although Lekin started to dodge before the man made a move, he started to dodge after the man began to gather energy at the tip of the gun. So, Liu Kong, like him, has the ability to see the flow of energy. He can read minds. Jinshu whispered in surprise. Oh? Do the 6 supernatural powers really exist? Adam looked at Yoon Jinshu. He had also speculated in this direction before, but it was not that he had psychic powers, but that he had clairvoyance. After all, if we talk about the abilities related to Buddhism and eyesight, it would be hard not to think of clairvoyance. It's just that clairvoyance should be able to see all corners of the world in all directions, and seeing the future should be the ability to see destiny, according to records. There is, but there are some doubts as to whether each magical power actually exists. Yoon Jinshu was a little surprised that Adam actually knew the 6 divine powers, but Adam often showed some in-depth knowledge of China, so he didn't care and immediately explained to Adam. According to Buddhist records, the practice of the 6 divine powers depends not only on cultivation, but also on Buddhist attainments. For example, the power of destiny and the power of divine feet. The former is similar to divination but does not seem to require any mathematical talent. The latter is more effective than the golden light of the earth. Even more traceless. Although these 2 magical powers are rare, it is not that no monks have cultivated them. It's just that there are relatively few monks who have mastered their mental powers. It is said that the seniors in Buddhism who have cultivated these magical powers have less than 1 hand. It should require extremely advanced Buddhist teachings. Achievements. As he spoke, Yoon Jinshu turned to look at the arena. As for the heavenly eyes, and even the clear eyes, they are really only recorded in legends. I think the heavenly eyes and heavenly ears are actually just ordinary secrets of perception. They have been exaggerated by Buddhists, and it is not good now. Admit that those ordinary secret arts are magical powers. I'm going to do that. Adam was listening enthusiastically, and was so startled by the sound that he quickly looked towards the field, only to see Kong standing in the middle of the field being surrounded by 2 people. The other 2 had obviously been dismissed. What's wrong? It's nothing. The one with a gun just now seemed to have used a secret technique, and his speed suddenly increased a few points. However, Guo Kwang seemed to have foreseen it in advance, and exposed a flaw to track the one with a knife to attack him, and he was caught just in time. The thrust of the gun. There was still surprise on Yoon Jinshu's face. Now I feel more and more that he has a clear mind. Chapter 437 Liao Kong. Don't British people love to talk about the weather? So, is this his mind? Adam was not sure either. Although his telepathy seemed to have the same effect as legilimency, practicing legilimency did not require Buddhist attainments on the competition field, relying on this ability of foresight in the Buddhist martial arts that is not weak in itself. Liao Kong quickly won the victory after the game. Adam began to lower his eyes and think about the specific effect of the energy structure used by Kong, and whether it would cause accidents if he tried it casually. Unfortunately, the mice he often used did not possess the ability to precisely control energy. Is this Mr. Adam Reed? Adam turned his head and looked up, looking at him in the aisle beside him. He was also the person who asked him just now. He was the one who had just won the game. Oh no, it can't be said just now. After all, the next game after Sword has also ended. But what are you doing to find yourself in the empty space? It seems that because of his successful practice in Buddhism, Kong's emotional thinking has been restrained and hidden, and it will not float on the surface like most people. Adam cannot see it naturally with a simple glance, and Adam does not want to take the initiative to read it. Take ideas from the other person's mind. Adam glanced at Yoon Jinshu next to him. He was a little doubtful that Yoon Jinshu's information about the other party was known to him. Yoon Jinshu shook his head blankly. He didn't make it, regardless of Sora's intention. Adam still stood up first. Master Liao Kong is looking for me. What's the matter? When Liao Kong heard Adam's words, he was obviously stunned for a moment, waved his hand and said, "You can't be called a master, but Mr. Reed, your Chinese is indeed very good. Thank you for your compliment, but Master Kong should explain your intention." Although he occasionally likes to be the Riddler to amuse his friends, under normal circumstances Adam still prefers a straightforward communication style. However, this kind of communication method made Kong even more uncomfortable, and the manuscript he prepared based on his usual life experience in the UK was completely useless. Aren't those British people able to talk about the weather for hours without getting off topic? He was ready to change the subject from the weather to the real thing. Ahem, that's it. Let me introduce myself. My common name is Feng Zhang, and I am the general manager of Lushan Zilin Cultural Tourism Group. Sora, or rather Feng Zhang, took out a business card holder from his chest pocket, took out a business card and handed it to Adam Fangzheng. Why does this name sound so much like a Buddhist title? Adam took it and saw that the card had a sense of design. On the left side of the green business card was a pagoda, and on the right side of the pagoda was a series of information, such as the company name, Liao Kong's real name and contact information, etc. So, Mr. Fangzheng? You are looking for me because, since he handed over his business card so formally, it was obvious that Ling Kong was not communicating with him as a Buddhist disciple. However, Adam was relieved. It seemed that it was not Yun Jinshu's investigation into the other party that had come to light. That's right. When I was studying in the UK, I also subscribed to the Daily Prophet and the Wizard, so I have some understanding of Mr. Reed's situation. I know that Mr. Reed is a well-known entrepreneur in the British spiritual community. Adam blinked, feeling a little subtle to be honest. It took more than a day or two for his business to grow bigger and stronger. This is the first time he has been called an entrepreneur. At most, a few brothers would call him a capitalist who doesn't have to work when they have dinner together. But this is also the reason why he doesn't participate in social occasions such as dance parties at all. Otherwise, if he wants to hear rainbow farts after getting rich, he will be afraid that he won't be able to hear them. While Adam was a little uncomfortable, the two of them walked directly to the empty seat in the back row and sat down. He also listened to Fang Zheng's appeal. In short, Fang Zheng wanted to negotiate a business deal with Adam. The cultivation circles of various countries have always had very little external exchanges, and the Chinese cultivation world has distinct characteristics compared to the Western wizard system because of its unique historical heritage. I believe that whether it is a Chinese cultivator or a British wizard, they are all very interested in each other. After listening to Fang Zheng's story, Adam pondered for a while. What Fang Zheng said makes sense, but the problem is, entering the Chinese market is indeed a feasible development direction, but why should I cooperate with you? Does your company have any competitive advantages? Since Fang Zheng wanted to discuss business, Adam naturally used the attitude of discussing business to communicate with him. Unlike in other countries, for the wizarding world of those European and American countries, Adam only needs a breakthrough to use massive resources to completely take over the other party's market. This is their usual trick, and Adam also retaliates without any psychological burden. The situation in Africa is a little different. In Adam's opinion, the wizarding world there has a big problem. Wizards are superior to others and their lives are no worse than wizards in the UK. However, Muggle squibs live a life of lack of water and food, and even wars in the surrounding area. A life of frequent ups and downs. In fact, there have always been voices of disapproval within the various African ministries of magic, but they were blocked by the other party's secrecy laws regarding this situation. Adam's attitude and plans will naturally change accordingly. He feels that he can not only control the African wizarding market, but also the African Ministry of Magic itself. The situation in China is even different. Adam is naturally willing to do business with the Chinese cultivation world, and can even do business in the Muggle world. And profit is not the first consideration. The main thing is to help the development of his hometown. In this way, what Adam values more is naturally stability and the market. In this regard, which partner can compete with the office? Adam doesn't think there would be any state-owned enterprises in the Chinese spiritual world. Otherwise, what would the invoices for those lunchboxes be filled with? Fang Zheng thought about this for a long time and couldn't come up with a plan to deal with it in the absence of strong proof of stability. The market is indeed their weakness originally. What he prepared was to make up for the weakness of the market with profits. He did not expect to become Adam's exclusive partner. He just hoped to seize the opportunity and gain some advantages by becoming the first partner to cooperate with Adam, and then use it to this snowballs. But now Adam doesn't care about interests. Fang Zheng wondered for the first time in his heart, is this guy in front of him really an Englishman? In that case, I'm sorry for disturbing you. Fang Zheng sighed, then hesitated for a moment and said, Mr. Adam, if you give up high profits to expand the market in order to raise prices after occupying the market, please don't do it. Hearing Fang Zheng's words, Adam couldn't help but be stunned. For a moment, he couldn't help but think that the Wu Kui party in Europe and America had started taking action in advance behind his back. Then Adam smiled and said, You are worrying too much? China is also my home. I will not do such a thing. Chapter 438 Reshaping the Idol. When I studied at the Oxford School of Economics and Management, I knew very well that capitalists have a straight face. Even if something is implemented in a contract, they can confuse right and wrong, let alone a verbal promise as for the contractual spirit of foreigners advocated in the so-called progressive magazines. Fang Zheng knew that it was just that the profits from breach of contract were not large enough, or that abiding by the contract was the choice to maximize interests, but considering that Adam's business in the UK was so big, and he had never heard of such a situation happening, and that he really couldn't do anything about something that didn't happen, Fang Zheng could only keep it in mind in the future. After Adam reaches cooperation with the office, it is best to appoint some people to keep an eye on the trends of his industry. Mr. Fang Zheng, there is no need to leave in a hurry. Although I prefer the office as the main partner for cooperation, I believe that the office cannot cover everything in China. With a clear conscience and the previous goodwill bonus, Adam believed that there would be no problems in business cooperation with the office, but he did not intend to let go of this partner who took the initiative to find him. The international students at Oxford University in this era should be more or less top-notch in terms of ability, not to mention their moral character. It's a pity that the resources held by the other party do not meet Adam's requirements, and Adam plans to do more than just business in the wizarding world in the future. For example, when packing potions, I accidentally mistook some design drawings for shock-absorbing newspapers, or mixed a photolithography machine into the pile of candies. With such a big business, occasional mistakes are inevitable. Fang Zheng and his company obviously cannot handle emergencies like this. The office must take over and deal with these accidents properly. For Adam, he didn't want to let go of the talent that came to his door. For Fang Zheng, it was an unexpected surprise. Because the tone of cooperation had been set, the two of them quickly agreed on a framework. The rest had to wait for Adam and the people in the office. Bayan finished talking first. After the chat, Adam had a preliminary understanding of Fang Zheng. How should I put it? It was almost impossible to tell that he was a Buddhist disciple. Feeling that he and Fang Zheng had developed some friendship, Adam asked a question that he didn't know was considered presumptuous. How does Mr. Fang Zheng balance the study of economics and management with the Buddhist practice? Fang Zheng was stunned when he heard this, and then he realized that Adam was asking him why he studied economics and management after entering Buddhism, or that he studied economics and management but then entered Buddhism. About this issue, I would like to ask Mr. Adam a question first. What do you think is Buddha? Speaking of this, Fang Zheng was particularly energetic. He had always wanted to share his theory, but unfortunately his master wouldn't let him take the initiative to talk to others, and others would inevitably find the question too offensive and not ask, but it stifled him. Got it, Buddha, the enlightened one? The one who understands the first meaning and emptiness. Adam's words made Fang Zheng speechless for the first time, but he actually said that the first meaning was meaningless. Is Adam really a British wizard and not a British scholar who studies Chinese culture? After adjusting his mentality, Fang Zheng said, well, Mr. Adam's research on Buddhism really shocked me. Maybe we can talk more about it sometime, but what I want to say is that for people nowadays, Buddha has actually become an idol. Oh? Idol. When it came time for Fang Zheng to explain his ideas, Adam would naturally not interrupt him. He only needed to be a compliment and listener, chiming in with a few words. Yes, although the Lord Buddha was against Hindu idolatry when he established Buddhism, unfortunately as time goes by, today's Buddhism has also followed the old path of Hinduism in this regard. Fang Zheng naturally followed Adam's agreement and continued, the three jewels of Buddhism. The Buddha has now become an idol used to attract people to become monks and learn the Dharma. Come and learn Buddhism. In the next life, you can enter the Pure Land, where there is countless gold and silver, all kinds of joy, and you can avoid suffering and disease. There are all kinds of worldly constraints that prevent you from entering Buddhism. It doesn't matter. Recite my Buddha's name and worship it sincerely. Even if you cannot enter the Pure Land, you will be able to live a better life in the next life, the afterlife. The Pure Land, blessings, and all kinds of beauty constitute the Buddha in today's world, attracting countless people. After hearing these words, Adam looked at Fang Zheng with something wrong. No. Do you still remember that you had a Dharma name named Kong? These words are really not what a Buddhist disciple should say, let alone a disciple of the Pure Land sect. You must know that the main focus of the Pure Land sect is to be reborn in the Pure Land by writing on the power of Buddha's vows. The main way of practice is to recite the name of Buddha. This is especially tempting for believers with low cultural level or limited conditions. The kind of person who holds a string of Buddhist beads and keeps chanting Amitabha in his mouth is the method of Pure Land sect. He keeps chanting it in order to be reborn in the Pure Land. After finishing speaking, Fang Zheng sighed, but times have changed now. Although things like the afterlife and the Pure Land are still effective now, they won't be effective for a few years. People today value money more than nihilistic things like the afterlife. So, is this why you went to study economics and management? To prevent the idol of Buddhism from falling due to scientific development and people not believing in the afterlife of the Pure Land, Adam couldn't stand it anymore. Yes, after nodding in response, Fang Zhang looked at Adam and asked, Mr. Adam, do you think the existence of such an idol is a bad thing? Adam wanted to say yes, and Fang Zhang himself had given a bunch of examples, but seeing that there was a clear turn in his attitude, he asked back, since Mr. Fang Zhang is still in Buddhism, he obviously thinks this is not a bad thing. No offspring, no production, evasion of taxes, fooling people for money. These are all proposed by people who oppose Buddhism in history. All of these are caused by human desires, and Buddhism is just a layer of skin, Fang Zhang said calmly. I don't deny that the Buddhist teachings themselves are useful enough in this regard, and Buddhism has been widely spread to this day precisely because of this usefulness. But in the future, in today's China, after the people are enlightened, similar things will not be eliminated, but they will become less and less. Hearing Fang Zhang's big truth, Adam couldn't help but he said, you are very honest, monks. Do not tell lies. False principles cannot help you cross the sea of suffering and reach the other shore. Fang Zhang clasped his hands and said, as a philosophical view, Buddhism itself is excellent enough. With these crimes being increasingly strictly monitored, is it a bad thing to have this idol of Buddhism? No matter why he came to learn Buddhism, those who really have a predestined relationship with Buddhism will naturally become enlightened in the process of contacting Buddhism. Even if there is no predestined relationship, and he only learns Buddhism for the benefit, he will be influenced by it. When he has evil thoughts one day, even if he hesitates for a moment, it is also compassion. After listening to Fang Zhang's philosophy, Adam thought for a moment, you should rarely say this to others, right, Amitabha? Master doesn't let me take the initiative to tell others, so I can only wait for others to ask. Fang Zhang sighed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439. The sky is beautiful and rain is falling. Returning to his seat, Adam felt a little complicated. What's wrong? What did Liao Kong say to you, Yun? Jinshu looked curious. Nothing, I just talked about some business cooperation. Business cooperation, Yun. Jinshu patted his thigh. You should talk to us in Shushan about this. We also have a panda park there. Foreigners will definitely like it. If it doesn't work, you can talk to the office. I do plan to talk to the office. Let's wait until the championship is over. The office should be very busy now. Adam waved his hand to interrupt him, but let's talk about the panda park in Shushan in detail now. Returning to his residence in the evening, Adam was thinking about which day to pet a panda while recalling what he had gained today, mainly the abilities shown by various X on the playing field. This system, which is very different from magic, has benefited him a lot. But before he could recall it for long, the service staff delivered a wooden box. It was said that it was delivered by a customer on the 4th floor. Guests on the 4th floor. Adam looked at the box and saw that there was energy reaction inside, but he didn't know what it was, so he applied protective magic first, then took the box. After returning to the room, he put the box on the ground and opened it facing the side away from him. After all, even if the protective magic is turned on, it may not be able to prevent some disgusting things. 3 seconds later, nothing happened. Adam turned the direction of the box and looked inside, and found that inside was an incense burner. The colorful incense burner is wrapped in soft cushions and has a piece of white cardboard underneath. Adam took out the incense burner and put it on the table, then took out the cardboard and opened it in front of his eyes. The paper sandwiched inside was clearly written. Certificate of Appraisal, product. Name, Gilt Copper in Enamel Suani Incense Burner, Appraiser. Colorless Abbot of Zilin Temple in Lushan Mountain. Adam's head was full of black lines. Is this Zilin Temple's product? Zilin Temple is really commercialized now, and it even has a supporting appraisal certificate, but at least he figured out who sent this thing. and it was obviously that guy Fang Zhang. Fang Zhang did say before that he would prepare a gift, which was also a specialty of Zilin Temple, and asked Adam to see if the British wizards would like it. Adam did not expect that he would be so efficient and delivered it that night. Adam picked up the incense burner and inspected it in his hand. The workmanship was very exquisite and should be in line with the aesthetics of British wizards. As for the energy reaction above, is it the so-called consecration? So does this appraiser mean the consecrator? Adam felt speechless for a while. At this moment, he seemed to see Zen Master Wu use in the Zilin Temple in Lushan consecrating batches of handicrafts on the assembly line, and Master Wu's most likely was not voluntary, at least not at the beginning. If an ordinary sect disciple dares to instruct his master like this, he will probably be expelled from the sect in minutes. However, recalling what Fang Zhang said to him before, Adam feels that he can guess the mentality of Master Wu. So whether Fang Zhang can make Zilin Temple prosperous by doing this is secondary. This kid must not let other sects get in, otherwise his Buddhist sect will suffer a lot, but the final result should be good, otherwise there wouldn't be so many Buddhist disciples looking at Fang Zhang with admiration. Continuing to recall the previous harvest, after finishing the supper, he studied the energy structure on the incense burner for a while. This form is completely different from the way of making talismans in alchemy. The mutual confirmation can bring a lot of inspiration to Adam. Adam lived a similar life for the next few days, watching games during the day and recording various energy structures, performing comparative studies at night, and occasionally studying lighting technology. According to Fang Zhang, the lighting effect of the incense burner makes people think more clearly, which is a bit similar to an intelligence enhancer. The effect is not that obvious, but the advantage is that it can be effective for a long time and stably paired with another specialty incense from Zilin Temple that has a similar effect. The combination of the two will have the effect of 1 + 1 greater than 2. Adam kept nodding his head as he listened. Apart from anything else, this incense was already a very feasible way to make money. It is said that men are afraid of weakness, women are afraid of ugliness, old people are afraid of death, and children are afraid of stupidity. If you catch any one of these four, you will never worry about sales. It's a pity that this thing that belongs to the spiritual world can be obtained by ordinary people accidentally. The office will secretly replace it, but it is obviously unrealistic to sell it to ordinary people on a large scale unless the current confidentiality laws are lifted. Wizards and ordinary people are just like mutants and ordinary people. It is obvious that as long as they are guided correctly, they can coexist peacefully, and both technological development and living standards can be greatly improved. However, it seems that the two are incompatible. Ordinary people can only delay 1 or 2 symptoms by selling houses and cars and going bankrupt. Perhaps a bottle of magic potion can actually cure it. For the mysterious and dangerous ruins, if large machines are used to dig mountains and pump water, it will naturally no longer be possible. So dangerous this may cause some turbulence and damage some interests, but as long as there is a strong enough support to overcome all difficulties and control the change from getting out of control, there will definitely be a better world in the future. Adam looked at the moon outside the window. On the small table next to him, the Swanee incense burner was surrounded by wisps of smoke. The sky is full of flowers, like rain, and the master is speaking from the Swanee seat. Lighting this incense when reading and studying on weekdays does give you a zen feeling. Oh, the 5-to-1 match is finally over. After breakfast, Yoon Jinshu looked at the blackboard on the first floor, which had posted the list of the 64-to-32 matches, and stretched his neck, which was a little stiff because of the hard pillow. I hope it will be more interesting than the previous matches. Yoon Yan, who couldn't help but nodded. Damien had seen a lot of the elimination matches in the past few days. He had never seen many of the methods of various sects. Even if the quality of the battle itself was not high, it was not too boring, but for Yoon Jinshu and the others, it was a bit of torture. These were all commonplace things. Although there were always many people in the audience, everyone took time to watch for a day or half a day. Only they had to sit with Adam from beginning to end. Although Adam also said that they could go out and play by themselves, and he would not get lost watching the game here, but they could not really leave. Being able to get along with Adam as friends is one thing. Accompanying Adam is actually part of their job. Leaving their post without permission is another thing. Oh? The first match is between Shannon sect and the opponent is Ziranman. The opponent is from the Key family. Phew, not bad, not bad. The top 32 this year should be stable. What do you mean by that? Do you look down on my Key family? The fifth match is between Wudang and Zhuangjian sect. Today shouldn't be too boring. It's almost afternoon. Maybe we have to wait until tomorrow. Let's go out and play in the morning, please. Make way after watching the previous one, and let me watch it too. Chapter 440 The Oldest Sect versus the Youngest Sect. After the elimination round, everyone's interest in participating and watching the game has obviously become much more enthusiastic. Adam looked at the crowd on the first floor and couldn't help saying. Yoon Jinshu explained familiarly, "This is normal. After all, 70% of the games in the elimination round are uncertain before the start, and most of them are in a state of uncertainty. Moreover, the top 32 is already a goal for many people. It is also a reputation to say it out loud, and the means that were originally hidden can be used." This was the case in the last session. The players who seemed to have difficulty winning in the elimination round suddenly showed their true abilities in the top 32, and the excitement was obviously a level higher than the elimination round. Adam heard this and a look of expectation appeared in his eyes in addition to the blackboard on the first floor. In fact, when entering the stadium, everyone will receive the folded list that Adam received before. Everyone was eager to read it just to know their game time and opponents in advance. Sitting in the audience, Adam flipped through the list in his hand. Compared with the previous one, the current list also has a brief introduction to each player at the same time. The referee below will announce the names of the two players and their respective sects or families before the game starts. Sure enough, the players who can't make it through the first round of eliminations are here to make up the numbers. Adam sighed. Whether it was the announcement or the introduction on the list, they were not on the first round. If you were eliminated in the first round, there might not be many people who knew your name. Looking at the field, Adam's attention was mainly on Liu Qi from the Shenin sect. This person attracted Adam's attention during the previous elimination rounds. His skill of manipulating plants was like a druid from the natural school. It is said that the inheritance of this sect really came from the Earth Emperor Shenin, at least part of his inheritance. If this is true, then this Shenin sect is probably one of the oldest inheritances in China, and the natural sect where his opponent came from was founded by Master Sui in modern times. In a sense, it can also compete for the sect with the shortest inheritance time, and ranks among the top. Of course, the sects here refer to the sects that really have a cultivation method inheritance. The pine cone, phlegm shaking, lightning whip and the like are not counted. Although the unlimited fighting style is also considered to have real kung fu, it is not counted because it does not include cultivation methods. It's a pity that there are no newspapers and publications exclusively for practitioners in China. Otherwise this game can be titled China's Oldest Sect versus the Youngest Sect and put on the front page. The two players were ready when they entered the venue. Shen Giffen of the Natural Sect wore a leather-embedded steel arm guard, while Liu Qi of the Shenin sect was wrapped in circles of green and purple vines, as if wearing vine armor. Is this vine armor? Adam looked at the wonderful vine armor that was connected to Liu Qi himself, and couldn't help asking Yoon Jinshu. The official competition was indeed different. Liu Qi didn't take out such a thing in the previous elimination round. This is Shenin Vine, which is both a weapon and a protective gear. Almost everyone in Shenin sect can use it as long as they have reached a certain level of cultivation, but the cultivation method is different for each person. It is rare to have information about the sect that Yoon Jinshu also knows well. Since the office has arranged this match as the opening of the first round, it should be very exciting. Adam nodded. In addition to the strength of the players, the competition system naturally also considers the viewing experience. When the competition entered the first round, everything became more formal. After confirming that both parties were ready, the referee threw a wooden sign. The moment the wooden sign landed was the moment the competition began. The wooden sign landed, making a crisp sound, and at the same time, the sound of 2 feet stepping on the ground also sounded. Liu Giffen of the Natural Gate took action. Although his name was more feminine, Shen Giffen was indeed a big and strong man, and he was straight to the point and threw a punch without any fancy moves. At the same time, Liu Qi stepped on the ground and quickly retreated a distance. One was moving forward, the other was retreating. Shen Giffen was obviously much faster than Liu Qi, but when he was about to cross the position where Liu Qi stood at the beginning, a purple tender vine suddenly broke out of the ground and wrapped around Shen Giffen's ankle. Liu Qi's ambush could not have been without energy fluctuations. Adam had naturally expected it, but Shen Giffen's response made him speechless. "Ha!" Shen Giffen shouted in a deep voice, but was not affected at all, and directly broke the vine and continued to rush forward. The vine was not thick, and it did not look particularly tough to the naked eye. It was not unexpected that it could be broken free, but the problem was that Shen Giffen was in a state of running forward quickly. At this time, Even a slight trip would cause an imbalance that was quite tricky. But Shen Giffen's movement to break free from the vine was extremely natural, and the movement of running was not deformed at all, as if he had not touched the vine at all. Such a stable lower body, such an outstanding foundation, Yan who couldn't help but admire. Look at Shen Giffen, who is just in his early 20s, but his movements are like birds jumping and monkeys running. Even in a sect like the natural sect that focuses on basic skills, ordinary people can hardly have such lower body skills without more than 10 years of hard training. Are you envious of other families for having such disciples, Adam? Asked curiously Yun Yan, who smiled lightly. That's not the case. Although he has outstanding foundation, he lacks spiritual energy. It's perfect for him to learn this kind of skills that focus on day and night polishing, but it's not suitable for Shu Shan. Adam blinked. Was Yun Yan who indirectly saying that Shen Giffen was stupid? If Shen Giffen's move was a 1 strength victory over 10 skilled, then Liu Qi was obviously the type who used all his tricks. Seeing that the vine was violently broken, Liu Qi swung the vine in his hand, and the vine grew rapidly as he swung it, and he actually used the vine as a long whip to whip Shen Giffen's body. Seeing this, Shen Giffen also responded in the same way as a long whip, reaching out to catch the vine. When her palm was hit, her wrist was also hit, but there was no red mark left. Not caring about the damage caused by the opponent, Shen Giffen grabbed the vine and pulled it in her direction, but pulled nothing. It was not that the vine was broken, but that the vine became longer. Shen Giffen pulled 1 inch of the vine and it grew 2 inches longer, so it was naturally impossible to affect Liu Qi at this time. The vine had already wrapped around Shen Giffen's body like a spirit snake, and even took the initiative to circle around Shen Giffen's head and put him on. During this period, Shen Giffen kept tearing the vines on her body, grabbing a place and exerting force suddenly. Even if the vines grew faster, it was impossible for them to grow more than 10 centimeters between an inch and a short distance. Naturally, they were torn into 2 pieces again and again by Shen Giffen, but those vines seemed to be real snakes. Even without a head, they still had a certain degree of activity and wrapped around Shen Giffen's body. Not long after, Shen Giffen looked almost the same as Liu Qi, as if she was also wearing a vine armor. Is Shen Giffen going to lose now? Jinshu felt a little regretful, but it couldn't be said that it was not exciting at all, but it was obviously a little different from what he imagined. No, Liu Qi can't win with just this move. Shen Giffen just needs to take care of the vital points, and these vines will not pose a threat to him. Yun Yan who shook his head and said, Shen Giffen's basic skills are extremely solid, and her body training level is far beyond her peers. Shen Giffen can fight Liu Qi until tomorrow while tying and pulling, but Liu Qi can't last that long to stimulate the vines. Chapter 441. Oh my god. If this stalemate continues, Liu Qixin will inevitably be unable to support it, and Shen Giffen will eventually win for the same reason. Outsiders may not notice it, but Liu Qi, the person involved, cannot fail to notice it, but he is still spawning more vines. Adam looked at the energy condensed on the vines and said secretly, you should be almost ready, right? At this moment, the layers of vines, including those torn off by Shen Giffen, withered and shriveled at the same time, revealing bulges. The vines had obviously entered some kind of state of transformation. Shen Giffen's eyes moved and she immediately sped up her movements. After the change, the vines were half dry and not as tough as before. Most of them were torn apart in the blink of an eye. The first thing Shen Giffen untied was the vines connected to Liu Qi. While untying them, she kept away from the torn vine remnants. Her speed and response were impeccable, but Liu Qi had been preparing for so long, so how could he let him go like this? Leave easily. When the vines on the body were still about a third of the way, the bulges made a rustling sound. The shell of the bulges had completely hardened, and the next moment they were completely exploded by the contents inside. Forward, Adam was stunned for a moment, and saw that there were tentacles and bulges just now. He originally thought that what came out of the bulges would be disgusting things like insects, but in the end, should it be said that they are worthy of the Shenin sect, the things that came out of the shell were still plants, a bunch of spike-shaped things, but judging from the shape, they shouldn't be rice, let alone sorghum. What's that? It's embarrassing to say that Adam knew and ate quite a few grains, but if they were unprocessed or even still grown on plants, he only knew rice and sorghum. That seems to be corn. Yun Yan murmured back. Corn, after peeling, is a small yellow grain, so it is also called millet. Millet porridge is made from this thing. As for why it is not called yellow rice, It is because the other name of yellow rice has been taken by millet. Is this what millet looks like when it's still attached to the ears? Adam couldn't help but nod. He had gained knowledge and experience. Corn of the Poaceae family can grow on vines. It would be too unfair for a disciple of the Shenin sect not to go to the Academy of Agricultural Sciences. But what's the use of Liuki's pile of millet? Forward. Good question. Shenin vine can be said to be ever-changing depending on the user. No one knows what Liuki's next move will be. He can't just want to treat Shen Giffen to a full meal, right? Is it a matter of millet? Yoon Jinshu guessed this trick does have its own unique skills, and although it is not as popular as Pai Kong's Yang, there are still many people who know it. The Shenin sect has inherited it for thousands of years and can definitely get it. You must know that there are hundreds or even thousands of grains in an ear of millet. If the handful of millet carefully cultivated by the Shenin sect were fully used, it would be no different if it were said to be the top of Mount Tai. But Yunayan rolled her eyes after hearing this, and Adam was silent for a while. Apparently, this guess was ignored. Are you kidding me? If you use 1,000 categories of millet on tens of thousands of millet, you have to do a foolish old man to move the mountain before you can overwhelm the other side. Eh? Why isn't Shen Giffen still moving? Yoon Jinshu originally muttered unconvincingly, thinking that 1,000 caddies of corn would definitely be a possibility. But when Yoon Yan said this in reply, he quickly looked towards the field. Is he waiting for Liuki's last move? No, he must have been immobilized. I just said shut up, Yoon Yan, who pressed Yoon Jinshu's mouth and kept his eyes on the field. This is right. How could I forget that there is such a thing? Adam looked at the energy from Liuki on Shen Giffen, and saw many familiar shadows in it. He suddenly figured out what the method was, and couldn't help but laugh under the curious gazes of Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yan, who Adam did not show off and concentrated on recording the wonderful energy structure of the Shenin sect while explaining. Corn has another name. It's called Huanglian, Wang Liang Yamen. But how is this possible? Yoon Jinshu was very surprised. What does Huanglian Yamen have to do with Huanglian? How could Wang Liang develop the ability of Wang Liang Yamen? This is not a conceptual ability, strictly speaking. This is more like an illusion created under the influence of some kind of toxin. Look at those vines. They are the source of this illusion. As he dismantled and understood the energy structure, Adam saw the changes just now more clearly. This vine is green with purple, and it obviously looks poisonous. However, Liu Qi did not show any means of poisoning the vines in the battle just now. Instead, he used stimulating the growth of the vines as his main fighting method. In this way, many people may so you let your guard down and mistakenly think that the vines are not poisonous, but Shen Giffen did not relax his vigilance because of this. He always used Qi to protect his vitals, mouth and nose, without any slack. But when the vine shriveled up, revealing the bulge inside, normal people would think that there was a big one coming next, and they had to hurry up. Escape quickly. Adam shook his head, seeming a little regretful. During this process, the body of the vine becomes dry and brittle. After being torn and broken by brute force, the broken powder will inevitably float into the air and be inhaled by the opponent who is determined to escape. This is the culprit of Shen Giffen's poisoning. Then, where are those corns? Yoon Jinshu was a little stunned after hearing this. Is it so complicated? These people who play tactics are really dirty. Have you forgotten Wang Liang Yamen? When you wake up from the dream, Adam looked down at Shen Giffen. His body, which was standing like an iron tower, was already crumbling. Finally, he fell to the ground and was caught by the referee. Today's referee was replaced by another senior surnamed Wang. He checked Shen Giffen's condition and determined that the opponent could not escape the toxin illusion. He shook his head and awarded him a loss. Liu Qi also withdrew his tactics, and Shen Giffen suddenly woke up. When he opened his eyes, the bunches of corn ears suddenly became more round and plump, and even emitted a faint fragrance, which made people salivate just by smelling it. Adam also swallowed and then added the second half of the sentence. The rice with yellow rice is almost ready. I'm going to choke the farmer emperor. This is a toxin illusion, and it's extracting the opponent's ki. In the end, it's for farming. Yoon Jinshu's jaw almost dropped as he watched the disciples and seniors of the Shenin sect skillfully harvest and bag the corn on the field. The quality of those corns is very high. Adam could see a faint energy condensed in those corns, And that energy did not belong to either Liuqi or Shen Giffen. In other words, it was not a temporary product created by the Shenong vine technique that was trying to trip up Shen Giffen, but a real fruit produced by the plant itself, except that the growth method may be a little bit special, but those corns are indeed edible and the quality is very good. I just don't know how the taste compares to normal millet. It should be better, right? I wouldn't have expected it at ordinary times, but now that I saw Ling Buting, I suddenly felt a little craving for millet porridge. Adam touched his chin and considered asking those Shen sect people if they could sell the seeds. It would be best if they could buy the seeds. Chapter 442. The time has come. I've seen many people practicing Tai Chi in the park, but this is the first time I've seen someone who can really use Tai Chi in their performance. Tai Chi is easy to learn but difficult to master. It seems simple, but in fact, even if it's just a set of moves, it's difficult for ordinary people to perform a set in a standard way. The changes in strength in actual combat are even more complicated. Adam and Yun Yan, who said as they took a sip of the millet porridge in their hands without other side dishes, just put a few longans and a little honey in it, and the refreshing and stomach-strengthening millet porridge can be used as a food alone. Take a sip while the temperature is between mild and hot, and the sweet and moist millet porridge flows between the lips and teeth. The teeth gently crush the longans and millet. In addition to the change in taste, the different light sweetness of starch, which is different from honey and longans, also bursts on the tip of the tongue. Yun Jinshu, who originally looked down on the monotonous bowl of porridge, couldn't help swallowing his saliva when he saw the two people eating so deliciously. Why, do you want to eat? No, no, Yun. Jinshu's quibbling words came to an abrupt end with a clear stomach growl. It's not a delicacy, but it's precisely the taste of this staple food that is sometimes more tempting than any delicacy, not to mention that the millet of Shen sect has a bit of the atmosphere of spiritual rice. I don't know what effect it can have after eating it, but it tastes really delicious and smells really tempting. Yun Jinshu looked at the millet porridge that had been cooked, which was only 2 bowls, and continued with his next if, I'm not hungry. This voice was even a little broken. If Adam hadn't stopped the sound, it would probably interfere with the game on the field. The Taoist priest of Wudang was really good at Tai Chi. The person from Zhuangjianmen on the opposite side was also interesting. He said that he wanted to compete with him in boxing and kicking first, and experience the famous Tai Chi before competing with him in swordsmanship. As a result, he was led to draw circles all over the field. Yun Jinshu quickly covered his mouth, and only breathed a sigh of relief when he looked at the people on the field and around him and saw that they didn't react. Are you really not hungry? At this moment, Yun Jinshu heard Adam's question with a smile. Based on Yun Jinshu's understanding of Adam, he must still have a lot of food on him now, but this is no longer a question of whether he is hungry or not. He just said he didn't want to eat, but now he wants to eat again. This is a matter of face, not hungry, really. Not hungry, really. Yun Jinshu's nose moved, and a sweet fragrance of millet porridge just out of the pot lingered around his nose. Turning around, a bowl of millet porridge full of millet porridge was held in Adam's hand. Why? Is there another bowl? He clearly saw that there were only 2 bowls just now, but no matter what, Yun Jinshu looked at this bowl of millet porridge, and his stomach couldn't help but growl again. But looking at Adam's malicious smile, and Yun Yan whose expression, he didn't even need to look at it, Yun Jinshu still turned his head. Not hungry? Oh. Okay, no. Why don't you ask again? Adam gave up so decisively. Yun Jinshu suddenly felt a little regretful. Turning his head, Adam and Yun Yan, whose eyes had already reached the arena. The disciple of Zhuangjianmen was a little angry after being led to draw a circle for nearly half of the arena. He quickly called for a stop and changed to a sword duel with the Wudang Taoist priest. The Wudang Taoist priest was also an honest man. He really stopped. Both sides took their swords and fought again. The interweaving of sword shadows was quite exciting. Slurp. Yun Jinshu secretly took the bowl of millet porridge and took a sip. If he endured it, it would be time for dinner. He was just curious whether the millet porridge was really so fragrant. He just wanted to take a bite to taste it home. It really smells good. Yun Jinshu's eyes lit up, and he wanted to taste the taste of longan again. Anyway, it was such a big bowl, so he only drank 2 sips. If he put it back secretly, it would definitely not be seen. Burp. When Yun Jinshu came to his senses, the bowl in his hand was empty. He looked at the bowl in his hand in shock. No, is this really millet porridge? No drugs? Why did he drink it all without realizing it? Exclamation mark. Then he couldn't help looking at his hand. This disappointing hand should have put the bull back long ago, but it kept holding it to tempt him. Hand? Is it delicious, Yoon? Jinshu's body stiffened, and he turned his head to look at Adam and Yoon Yanhu. Fortunately, the two of them just smiled at him and didn't say anything to add insult to injury. Ahem. It really tastes good, Adam nodded. The millet of Shen sect tasted really good. In addition to millet, he also bought millet seeds, and seeds of other crops cultivated by Shen sect before selling Adam seeds. The people of Shen sect also reminded him that these seeds need to be artificially infused with a lot of energy to have the normal yield of other crops. If you just plant them, the quality of the products will not be affected, but the yield will be pitifully small, and it will have a great impact on the fertility of the land. It will take more than 3 years to recover without human intervention. Most importantly, these seeds can only be used once, and the products grown will be ordinary seeds if they are used again. Adam can accept this. He has money, magic power, enough land, and the magic of land cards. If it doesn't work, he can just plant one crop and then copy it to eat. The main thing is the taste of these crops. I hope they will be so delicious when they are grown one by one. As time went by and the competition progressed, Adam learned a lot of wonderful tricks from China. The competition was almost over. It was almost time to talk to the people in the office. Which thing should I talk to the office about first? At present, Adam had to talk to the office about two main things. One was about the confidentiality law, and the other was about doing business together. If we talk about the confidentiality law first, then I don't know when we can talk about doing business. Exposing the existence of wizards and practitioners to ordinary people, such a big thing will definitely be too much for the office to take care of for a while. But if we talk about business first and then the confidentiality law, will the office devote much energy to doing business with Adam? This is still without considering the possibility of a breakdown in the talks. Although the office's attitude towards practitioners and ordinary people seems to be very different from that of the European and American Ministry of Magic, it is another matter when it comes to the confidentiality law. But no matter what the result of the negotiation is, the limit Adam can do is not to actively interfere in the situation in China. Not to mention that the witch party in Europe and the United States is already ready to strike. Adam spent so much effort to become immortal. It can't be that he can see with his own eyes that the conflict between wizards and ordinary people has to break out one day in the future. Obviously, the existing technology and extraordinary can make each other better. All it needs is a hand that can suppress those guys who want to take advantage of the chaos to make a profit. Chapter 443 The Most Outrageous Party. Abolish the Statute of Secrecy. Mr. Reed, do you really know what you are talking about? Of course, I am very sure. Originally, the office knew that Adam was going to have a formal conversation with them, and although they had taken it very seriously, after the person sent over actually communicated with Adam, he found that this was really not a topic that he could participate in. With his position, he was just a small deputy minister. For such an international event, let alone participating in the discussion, it was not his turn even to vote. He was ready to go back and change people, but before leaving, he still asked Adam uncertainly, Mr. Reed, what you are talking about, is this your personal idea, or the British Ministry of Magic? To be precise, it is the Ministry of Magic of several countries. Adam picked up the parchment version of the Witch Party workgroup in his hand and took a look. In addition to the British Ministry of Magic, there are also France, Germany, Switzerland, Australia, and Egypt. These are the countries where the Witch Party has almost completely controlled the wizarding market in just half a month, and the countries that originally supported Adam, especially the banks in some of these countries, are still managed by goblins, and the economic system is so vulnerable. Adams. I suddenly froze on a line of reports. What's wrong? The deputy minister was memorizing, and suddenly heard Adam's puzzled voice. It's okay. The Macusa seems to be split. But I can still make the decision, Deputy Minister. It sounds like your right to make the decision does not come from the authorization of the Ministry of Magic, but no matter what, this is not something he can participate in the decision-making, so he silently recalled to make sure he remembered it, and hurried back to report. Since 1692, the Statute of Secrecy has been initially implemented. Since then, people have tried to abolish or break the Statute of Secrecy for various reasons every once in a while, but no one has ever succeeded. The last person who wanted to abolish the Statute of Secrecy was Grindelwald. He was the closest to success, but he had always stood on the opposite side of the International Confederation of Wizards, and had never received support from any country's Ministry of Magic. This time is different. The statute of secrecy may really be broken. Adam didn't have to wait long before several waiters came with fruit plates and asked him to wait for a while. Because of the tournament, the leaders in the office were still busy, so the waiting time might be a bit long. Adam, who knew that the leaders were in a meeting, nodded and enjoyed the fruit plates. What happened abroad in the past few years? In the conference room, a middle-aged man with sparse hair on his head looked surprised. Why do so many ministries of magic support breaking the statute of secrecy? A younger man in a shirt pushed his glasses and asked, "Is it possible that Mr. Reed is not telling the truth? After all, he doesn't seem to have produced any evidence, and we haven't received any relevant news. Then, what is his motive for deceiving us? As for the intelligence collection of foreign ministries of magic, it's better not to have too much hope for such a thing. It's okay for the world of ordinary people, but it's too difficult to infiltrate intelligence in the already very closed environment of the magic world. That's the problem, isn't it? Since the wizarding world of various countries is still closed, why would they make the decision to break the statute of secrecy?" The man in the shirt still maintained his original attitude. "Well, let's not talk about whether Adam Reed has the support of so many national ministries of magic as he said, but he can at least represent the opinions of the British Ministry of Magic. Don't you deny this?" The words of the person in the first seat interrupted the debate in the conference room and made the conference room quiet again. For the abolition of the statute of secrecy, if one person or even a group of people support it, it is not a big problem. At present, the biggest problem is only as big as Grindelwald. Well, it is actually a big problem at that level, but it is not completely unmanageable. But if the Ministry of Magic of a country, even if only one country's Ministry of Magic formally supports the abolition of the statute of secrecy, the nature is completely different. Ordinary people nowadays are not as isolated from the news as they were hundreds of years ago. It is difficult to solve the problem when people in a city discover the existence of wizards. If a country directly and openly declares the existence of the mysterious side, and it is a country like Britain, then other countries will only exist in name only, even if they still maintain the statute of secrecy. From this point of view, it is really not important to discuss how many countries Adam represents the attitude of. As long as he can represent the attitude of the British Ministry of Magic, it is enough. The current minister of the British Ministry of Magic is named Eugene Crowley. He, the current Chief Justice and Director of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, Bernard Lancelot, and Adam Reed were roommates during their time at Hogwarts, and they have a very good relationship. The man who is responsible for presiding over the meeting and preparing materials took the newly printed documents from the staff around him, handed them to everyone, and continued to introduce. After entering the Ministry of Magic, Eugene Crowley actively promoted a series of reforms, each of which was supported by Bernard Lancelot. Although Adam Reed was not directly involved, he had a considerable industry and should have provided financial support for the other two. Although I had known Adam more or less before, this was the first time I had learned about him so formally through documents. Looking at the contents of the document, everyone in the meeting room couldn't help but frown. From this document, the connection between these three people is simply close. They have never had any disagreements on the affairs of the Ministry of Magic. There are high-ranking officials, wealthy people, and judicial officials. It is even more outrageous than the largest court party in ancient China. After all, even the emperor has joined. The decision of these three people can almost completely represent the British Ministry of Magic, and such a young group with such control over the Ministry of Magic has completed several reforms of the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic is indeed thriving at present. No wonder they have the idea of abolishing the statute of secrecy. By the way, seeing that everyone had read almost everything, the man presiding over the meeting emphasized one point in the document. During their study at Hogwarts, one of their roommates was the next minister of the Egyptian Ministry of Magic, and according to the current intelligence, their relationship is also very good. The Liber that was emphasized was said to be loaned to the British Ministry of Magic for the rapid trial of Death Eaters, but in fact, there is no sign of withdrawal until now. The senior officials of the Egyptian Ministry of Magic office were also aware of the situation. The current minister could not completely ignore the influence of the next minister, as they were mother and son, and to be honest, places like Egypt might not have much obsession with maintaining the statute of secrecy. It was not surprising that the Egyptian Ministry of Magic changed its attitude after the British Ministry of Magic had already made a decision, so Adam is likely to represent the attitudes of at least two countries. The man in the shirt did not bother with other issues, and pinched his brows with a headache. Chapter 444. Huh? Me? But what is their confidence? An old woman looked at the document with some confusion. The people who defeated Grindelwald back then were the principals when they were studying at Hogwarts. They didn't seem so impulsive, at least they wouldn't initiate changes without preparation. Everyone looked at the old woman. The old woman pointed at the several times Eugene faced opposition and surprises when he reformed the Ministry of Magic. In most cases, he was able to come up with prepared countermeasures. In other cases, he could also handle very well. They should have understood what happened to Grindelwald, right? Knowing that abolishing the Statute of Secrecy would attract opposition from the International Federation of Wizards, they should not be naive enough to think that an official identity can protect them, even if the abolition of the secrecy law is irreversible. They who led this matter can be regarded as the direct cause of all the subsequent chaos, conflicts, deaths and injuries, and they are simply the chosen ones to take the blame unless they are sufficiently prepared to resolve those conflicts and casualties, or have enough confidence to face the subsequent reckoning. There is no need to consider whether the International Federation of Wizards will still exist at that time. A war may break out between the mysterious side and ordinary people, and the war situation may change, but in the end the situation will stabilize slightly, and all parties that still exist will come to them to settle matters. In fact, this is the reason why there have always been calls to abolish the confidentiality law, but no one has succeeded. Those who dare to stand up do not have the ability to truly abolish the confidentiality law, and those who have the ability do not dare to stand up, because the first to stand up will definitely die in the end. And now that Adam is doing this, what gave the British Ministry of Magic, or Adam and others, the confidence to do this? It can't be that a few of them unite to sacrifice their lives for righteousness, right? Is it because he discovered something in the ruins of the Hanging Garden? As soon as this question came out, the conference room fell into silence again. After initially learning of the existence of the Hanging Garden ruins, the office had several meetings on whether to explore the ruins, but ultimately chose to give up. On the one hand, all countries have made such a large investment, but except for Adam, who seemed to have gained a certain amount and was able to enter and exit the ruins normally, the only ones who came back alive were the two people brought back by Adam. On the other hand, the ruins of the Hanging Garden are completely different from their own inheritance. Even if they are lucky enough to gain something, they may not be able to use it in the end. It requires a large investment, involves extremely high risks, and the high probability of final harvest is still something that does not actually improve one's own side. How can such a thing be passed? Now this question has been raised again. Has anyone else come up with the idea of exploring the ruins of the Hanging Garden? But I have to say that this guess does have a certain possibility. This matter can be discussed later. What is important now is how to negotiate with Adam Reed. What attitude do we want to show? He has been waiting while we were discussing it. One person brought the vaguely off-track topic of the meeting back on track. After discussing the current situation, I think it should also be considered in conjunction with Adam Reed's personal characteristics and his motivation for talking to us about this matter. Everyone looked at Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu, who were sitting at the coffee table not far away. In addition to protecting and accompanying Adam, it is of course also the hidden work of the two Yoon brothers to collect information about Adam. After all, knowing Adam's personality and preferences makes it easier to entertain him, but sometimes this information can also be used in other ways. Such as now, I guess why not just ask Adam? Facing so many leaders whom he would never meet, Yoon Jinshu felt numb, but he still stood up and answered, as we all know, our office has no connection with the International Confederation of Wizards at all. Although the Ministry of Magic in Hong Kong is a member of the International Confederation of Wizards, this affiliation has not been officially recognized by the Ministries of Magic in various countries. Changes in the situation of ordinary people and even wars have no impact on the mysterious side, at least on the surface. Ordinary people in Africa fight every day, but it does not affect the stability of the African Ministry of Magic at all. Egypt has split up so many countries, but the Ministry of Magic is still the same as before, facing everyone's gaze. Yoon Jinshu continued to say bravely, so, strictly speaking, even if Adam and the others want to abolish the confidentiality law, there is no need to notify us, but we will be very passive then. I personally think Adam has good intentions, and maybe he just came to inform us about what to do. Ready? The conference room fell into silence again, and everyone made eye contact with each other. This is indeed the truth. If one day they are woken up by their subordinates in the middle of the night and countries all over the world publicly announce that there is a mysterious power like wizards in the world, how should they respond next? That would be the end of the world for them. You have a point. The old woman looked directly at Yunjin and said, then why don't we just do as you said and ask directly? Then it's up to you to ask. Me? Going to talk to Adam on behalf of the office in China. Yun Jinshu's eyes widened and he pointed at himself in disbelief. Yun Yan, who also looked surprised. Yes, you two have rich experience in getting along with each other. It won't be too abrupt for you to ask? If Adam Reed comes with good intentions, then he won't mind if you communicate with him first. The old woman had no expression on her face, but her tone was gentle. She felt that Yun Jinshu's words made sense. She had good intentions towards China, so she came to inform them in advance to avoid the office being too passive at that time. Although according to the logic of politicians, these words were no different from farts, the problem was that Adam and his friends were not just politicians. Judging from the information, they were also young people with dreams and passion for such people. What they said just now was completely true. Although they felt a little headache when they read the information about those reforms, they had to admit that each one had a certain value and made the British wizarding world better than before, even if they did not make those reforms. With Eugene Crowley's achievements before taking office as minister, Bernard Lancelot's power and Adam Reed's financial resources, they could have lived a life of superiority. So the old woman was willing to believe that they made the decision to abolish the statute of secrecy with the intention of making the Ministry of Magic better. Moreover, the cultural relics that Adam had sent back before also played a certain role. No matter how objective a person is, he will inevitably be influenced by some preconceived ideas. Obviously, Adam's preconceived impression is quite deep. At least Adam has good intentions towards China, and no one will question this for the time being. The old woman didn't know how many times she was impressed by the good family education of Ms. Li in her heart after watching Yun Jinshu and Yun Yan who leave the conference room with important tasks. The people in the conference room did not disperse if it weren't for the need to monitor the conversation between Adam and the two brothers of the Yun family in real time. There would be others to do it. They now have another more important thing to talk about at present. With a decision made by the British Ministry of Magic, the abolition of the statute of secrecy is at least a factual matter. There is no time to take care of the situation abroad for the time being. They must plan well where China should go in the future and what path it should take. Chapter 445. Let's get straight to the point. Although the issues to be discussed were very important, no one in the conference room was so nervous that they lost their composure. On the one hand, this is not a matter of urgency. Being emotional at the moment will only interfere with decision-making. On the other hand, everyone had more or less predicted the arrival of this day, but they didn't expect it to come so soon. Originally, they thought they would never see this day in their lifetime. At the same time, Yun Jinshu and Yun Yan, who on the other side had arrived at the reception room where Adam was waiting. Oh? It's you guys who are here. As expected, Adam, who had listened to the entire conversation in the conference room, was in a good mood and pushed the fruit plate on the table toward the door. Eat something. No. Yun Jinshu obviously still felt a little awkward and didn't know how to speak. Yun Yan, who simply sat down on the chair next to Adam and took a pear. Isn't this the best case scenario? Or do you not believe Adam? Yun Jinshu, that's true. Don't worry, I know you believe me. So should we chat for a while now or get to the point? Looking at Adam, who seemed to have guessed what happened in the conference room from their arrival, Yun Yan looked back at Yun Jinshu, who was sitting aside, knowing that this guy was hopeless, so he looked at Adam. Let's get straight to the point. The existence of the mysterious side cannot be concealed forever. Instead of waiting until that day has to come, it is better to actively promote the arrival of that day. This way, at least the initiative is in our hands. Yun Yan's mind went blank. It would be too straightforward to get straight to the point. He really should just jump to the main point of the topic. He originally thought that Adam meant not to say any pleasantries, but to start talking in depth bit by bit from the reason why they came, and looking at the technology that has changed rapidly in the past 100 years, and then looking at the mysterious power that has been passed down for thousands of years but does not seem to have changed much. We have to admit that while ordinary people are making strides forward, we have been standing still. Before he could think of an answer, he heard Adam continue. It seems that if we wait any longer, we will soon be unable to keep up with the times, but in fact, we can completely develop technology that contains mysterious power. Whether it is the scientific revolutionary spirit of Muggles or the special power of the mysterious side, it can originally bring benefits to the other side. Wait a minute, Yoon. Yan, whose forehead was already sweating, you jumped on the topic a little too fast. Let's do it one by one, okay? Come one by one. Adam nodded and stretched out his hand to signal Yoon Yanhu to start on the other side, the office worker who relied on equipment to monitor the conversation in the reception room side. This was not the same level at all, but there is nothing they can do. They are indeed relatively passive now. If they changed to someone with better negotiation skills but no communication foundation with Adam, the effect may not be as good as these two people. After sorting out his thoughts, Yoon Yanhu found an entry point. Is the abolition of the secrecy law inevitable now? Hiss. The employee on the other end of the monitor took a breath of air and almost fainted on the spot. Do they know how important a conversation this is? Its impact is so far-reaching that if it goes wrong, World War II will start. Why ask a question that doesn't even need to be asked? Adam shrugged. Yes, even if we don't really convince all of the Ministry of Magic, we only need to break one hole and the secrecy law will actually be impossible to maintain. You should be able to think of this. Yes, so do you know what the consequences of this behavior will be? Yoon Yanhu's words did not contain a questioning tone, because he knew that Adam must have considered these things. Of course, but these things are bound to happen, right? As I said before, the mysterious side of the world will be exposed sooner or later, and it will only become more out of control. If it is planned and proactive to promote this matter, then on the contrary, it will reduce the severity of the consequences, but this will make everyone put the responsibility on you. Have you thought about how to deal with it then? On the other side of the monitor, the employee wearing headphones sat up in shock on the spot, dying of illness. It turns out that the previous series of progressive questions was to reasonably ask about the most important core. This is a good question. And it was raised from the perspective of a friend's concern. If it had been anyone else, he would have been suspected of testing the opponent's trump card. After hearing this, Adam pondered for a moment. In these few seconds, Yoon Yanhu's heartbeat accelerated slightly, and the staff on the other end of the monitor almost felt his heartbeat out of his chest. Indeed, I should show our confidence in making this decision, first show that we are really capable enough to do this, instead of just being passionate, and then we can talk about the rest of the matter. Hearing this, Yoon Yanhu's eyes widened slightly, and the next moment he saw Adam standing up. But how to show it? You can't show them your ability to destroy the earth in a fancy way, right? Although this can be called confidence, it is a bit extreme, and it cannot be shown directly. There you have it. Let's start with this. Follow me. Adam turned to look at Yoon Jinshu. You come too, huh? Where are you going? Yoon Yanhu and Yoon Jinshu stood up and followed, but found that Adam went all the way to the left after leaving the door, and pressed a few keys skillfully after entering the elevator. The two brothers of the Yoon family looked at the familiar sequence and couldn't help but reach out. Wait, that's going to, how do you know? There is a kind of magic called legilimency. Of course, I don't use that kind of magic. With your mental protection, ordinary legilimency masters can't read your thoughts. The two brothers of the Yoon family breathed a sigh of relief, but then they thought about it and it seemed even more wrong. Then, I use more advanced magic, closer to the essence of the rules, or Tao. The elevator arrived. Adam was the first to step out of the elevator door, and saw a staff member holding tea coming over. Sorry, Yoon Yanhu hurriedly explained, so that the other party would not think that they broke in and directly ordered someone to shoot them, but found that the other party seemed to have not seen them at all. Do you know about psychological invisibility? Adam's voice rang in Yoon Yanhu and Yoon Jinshu's ears. When a person focuses on something, he will subconsciously ignore other things, even some things that are a bit outrageous under normal circumstances. Yoon Jinshu turned his head but didn't see Adam, but Adam's voice still rang in his ears. As long as the method is right, a little push can achieve a similar effect, and this is neither magic nor spells. Even if it is monitored by mechanical means, it will be affected. Adam's figure appeared. No, to be precise, he was suddenly noticed by them when they saw Adam. Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu finally realized that Adam seemed to have been standing there just now. Click. Adam reached out and turned a door. For example, they clearly used the monitor to listen to the movements in the reception room, but now they can't find that we have left at all, and even opened their door, looking at the staff in the door who frowned, held the headphones with one hand and looked serious. Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yan-who were silent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446. This is really annoying. Don't worry, this is not to do anything outrageous, but to show part of my confidence. This skill can deal with and solve a lot of possible troubles, right, Adam? Did not further demonstrate other operations, but took Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yan-who back into the elevator. In addition to this, we have already mastered the markets of the Ministry of Magic in many countries, and even include some basic survival supplies. Whether it is possible accountability or those who want to make profits in the chaos, we can use this method to curb. The two Yoon brothers were so shocked that they were speechless. How did they do this? So the Ministry of Magic in the countries that support Adam, except the British Ministry of Magic, are all forced to do so after their economic lifeline is taken advantage of. But it should be said, if what Adam said is true, it will indeed have an effect after all. The so-called accountability is actually an act of deflecting blame. If the cost is too high, they will give up as for curbing those who want to take advantage of the chaos. This condition, coupled with the ability to control people's hearts that Adam showed just now, can basically eliminate 90% of those with ulterior motives. In the end, it is strength. No matter what you do, you need strength. Otherwise, let alone what you want to accomplish, you will not even be regarded as a human being. I think no one will know this better than the Chinese people. Adam sighed a little as he spoke. Rabbits in flower farms generally suffer from a phobia of lack of firepower. Isn't that why, in terms of strength, it can be said that this is the least surprising time for the two brothers of the Yoon family? As Adam said, China's understanding of the importance of strength is really unforgettable, and there is no better way to protect itself than this. And if they didn't have the strength, would the Ministry of Magic in the countries Adam mentioned before be so abiding by the rules? And would they watch their own market being controlled by others without using any extra measures? Do you really think that those who were shot 8 times in the back and left the pistol in the tree committed suicide? In fact, they originally thought that Adam's confidence was limited to his strength. And they guessed that this confidence came from the ruins of the Hanging Garden, but they found out that they were wrong. This mistake originally only refers to the two confidences Adam showed them before showing his strength, but after showing his true strength, it became an additional intention. They also guessed wrong about the source of Adam's strength, and they were terribly wrong. This is Yoon Jinshu's legs were weak, and he sat on the ground holding on to the door frame, his hands holding the ground shaking, although Yoon Yan-who can still stand. It's just because his posture is relatively stable. This is the first time Adam has seen the appearance of human hair in reality. The half-grown hair is all puffy! Exclamation mark. At the intersection of their eyes, there was a 3-meter-long dark metal lump that Adam had just taken out. It has a very cute name, Little Boy. Of course, you can also call it Little Boy Number 1. Of course, Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yan-who would not have thought that this thing was the first atomic bomb put into actual combat on the Earth, and they did not continue their studies like ordinary people. But as the atomic bomb was the main reason for the Japanese surrender, they still knew what the atomic bomb was and what it looked like, and as a disciple of Shushan with extremely excellent perception, feeling the spiritual sense that has been reminding him to run fast and die at the highest intensity since just now, it is obvious that even if this atomic bomb is not a fake, it is not as powerful as how bad. Think about the power and effects of an atomic bomb. With an atomic bomb right in front of you, as if no protective measures have been taken, who can remain calm? The fact that they are not crying now is already a sign of calmness, not to mention that when they remembered that the location they were in now was the headquarters of the office, and basically all the senior management were having a meeting on the floor where they had just arrived, the two of them became even more confused. If it exploded, wouldn't it immediately declare the group destroyed? Don't worry, although this atomic bomb is just a little bit close to exploding, it won't explode. Adam directly reached out and patted the little boy's outer shell. Because the detonation mechanism of the atomic bomb is a bit inconvenient to use, Adam deliberately chose to make a copy of the little boy after the detonation but before the explosion. It can be used for personal testing in the Japanese country in that parallel world, and the double protection of time stop and protective magic is better than any other. All means of preservation must be safer, not to mention a few shots. Even if it is used as a stake for a stamping machine, it will not explode. But the comfort effect of Adam's words alone can be said to have little effect. Hearing the muffled sound of the steel shell being slapped, Yoon Jinshu screamed silently on the spot. His expression was distorted, and Yoon Yanhu finally he fell down, looking like he might be whipped out at any moment. Ahem. Well, this visual impact may indeed be greater. Seeing the state of the two of them, Adam still put the little boy away. Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yan came back and calmed down a little. Where did you put the thing? Of course it's really safe if you carry it with you, Adam said matter-of-factly. Don't worry, I'm protecting it with magic. You won't even use it as a walnut plate. When Yoon Jin asked the question, her face turned pale. No, you don't have to show us how to use an atomic bomb. It took a while for Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu to accept the fact that they had always had an atomic bomb around them. No, there might be more than one. Originally, I wanted to show you my powerful magic skills, but it's hard to show the power of magic without actually using it. Who should I use it on? Adam explained his scary behavior just now, but the atomic bomb is different. The power of this thing is relatively stable and relatively easier to quantify. You might as well show us your magic skills, even if you can beat us up in 1 second. The blood color of Yoon Jinshu's lips has not yet fully recovered. When he touched his back, it was all wet. I feel like I have shortened my life by at least 20 years after talking to you for a while. It's too scary. It's similar to the principle that those who are difficult don't know it, and those who know it are not difficult. After you really know how to store the atomic bomb, you won't worry that it will explode at any time. Adam used the magic of time stopping to stop the time of Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu. Each person experienced it for a full 3 seconds, and the other person testified. This allowed them to sit down with Adam with a little peace of mind. Now, you believe we have enough confidence, right? I believe it. I didn't expect you to get the British atomic bomb. You can't even control the British Prime Minister, right? The two couldn't help but smile bitterly. This confidence is really annoying. Why did the largest countries calm down a lot after World War II? Isn't it because more than one party holds this thing? If you had said earlier that you had the atomic bomb, you wouldn't have shown us the two confidences mentioned above. Chapter 447, A world where 100 flowers bloom. After Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu returned to the conference room, the original discussion in the conference room suddenly stopped and fell into silence for 2.5 minutes. Intellectually, they didn't want to believe what Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu said, because it was against their common sense, but they also knew that Yoon Jinshu and Yoon Yanhu would not be confused or even deceive them on such issues involving national security. So, could it be that the two of them were deceived by Adam's magic? But this speculation involves another problem, that is, Adam and the others also don't want to doubt it, but what the two brothers of the Yoon family said just now is still too outrageous. Forget it, let's verify it. Let the two brothers of the Yoon family go to Adam and let him show his ability of psychological invisibility. In addition, the matter of controlling the market that Adam said should also be verified. Although the wizarding world is relatively closed, and the magic ministries of various countries should not let the situation of their own markets being controlled by someone be easily discovered, but holding the answer to find clues should still be able to find some clues. We can only verify these two items first. We can't let him take out the atomic bomb and let them check the truth, right? The two brothers of the Yoon family were afraid of that thing, so are they not afraid of it? Are you looking for me? Adam's voice reached everyone's ears, and everyone was in a trance for a moment, and then suddenly recalled that just now, Adam seemed to have pushed the door open and walked in, but they had never noticed it. Now that they think about it now, they have an impression of every step Adam took when he pushed the door in. Why did they not notice him until Adam took the initiative to speak and reveal his whereabouts, and they only verified the words of the two brothers of the Yoon family, not completely doubting them? So they had already notified the monitoring room to activate the hidden monitoring of this room, and used magic to remotely observe the conference room, and if they noticed Adam, they would give them a signal. Feeling the slight vibration of the bracelet, which was a signal secretly set before, the old woman at the front of the conference table twitched her eyes. It can be confirmed that Adam's move is also effective for monitoring or similar spells in this way, if he does not reveal his whereabouts, but uses this ability to assassinate them. Will they not be able to find that there is already a person standing next to them until they are killed? The shock was terrifying, but everyone quickly adjusted themselves and did not let the shock affect their actions. Mr. Reed, Jinshu and the others have conveyed your ideas. Please take a seat. Thank you. Adam pulled a chair from the coffee table and sat down at the other end of the long table. Feng Zarin, the host of the meeting, who was originally going to ask the waiter to add a chair, was stunned. They were all sitting on 4 corner stools that matched the conference table, and the one next to the coffee table was a kind of round rattan stool. When Adam sat down, the meeting that was originally similar to a negotiation exchange suddenly became a bit out of place. The number of people on both sides was unequal, but why were the stools of different styles, one high and one low, one for work and one for leisure? But his hand was already raised, and he was even halfway through his words. Feng Zaren's mind turned quickly, and the words on his mouth became, "Quickly bring Mr. Reed a glass of water." "What does Mr. Reed like to drink, Longjing?" "Or jasmine is fine." Adam nodded. "We just happen to have some excellent Mickey and Longjing tea here. I'll pack some for Mr. Reed later." After saying this very skillfully, Feng Zaren couldn't help but be stunned. He had never thought that the process of entertaining a foreigner could be so smooth, as if he did it almost every day. Although he had seen the description of Adam as a Chinese expert in the documents, the difference between this and his original imagination was too big. The biggest difference between a foreigner who is familiar with China and a Chinese with a foreign appearance is not on the accent or the learning of some knowledge, but in the details of all aspects of life. At this moment, Feng Zaren really couldn't help but doubt, is this person in front of him really not a Chinese? Apparently, Feng Zaren was not the only one who had similar ideas. In confusion, everyone chatted with Adam for a few words. When the tea came, everyone started to get to the point. According to Jinshu and others' retelling, "We already know your goals and the demands for cooperation, and we have confirmed that you have enough ability and determination to do this," Feng Zaren said in a gentle tone and looked into Adam's eyes. "Before we have a deeper conversation, please allow me to ask a question. In your imagination, what kind of structure will the world be after the abolition of the confidentiality law?" This is something they must determine first, otherwise there will be no way to talk about it later. In the wizard community, there have always been believers in the so-called wizard supremacy theory, but in my opinion, magic is just a talent, and everyone is essentially human. Facts have proved that ordinary people without magic can also rely on other talents to transform the world, and they are no worse than wizards. Adam stroked his hand casually, and the tea in the teacup in front of him steamed up, and in the mist, cars, airplanes, computers, and even scenes of atomic bomb explosions emerged before this. The biggest advantage of wizards was that their individual power limit was higher than that of ordinary people, but the problem was that this power was limited to individuals. The best wizards could ignore the number of people, and modern war weapons could basically handle it with ease as long as they were careful to obtain intelligence first. But the number of best wizards who could do this could probably be counted on one hand. Before Adam rescued people from the past. In contrast, there are many wizards who can't even cast the iron armor curse. And there are even fewer who can master apparition. There is no way for these people's strength to be greatly improved at the magical level. Their talents, that's it. The advantage of ordinary people lies in the replicability of quantity and technology. A person's talent is weak, but with good equipment, he can still exert his strength far beyond his original strength. And when ordinary people gather together, they can divide labor and cooperate to perform their duties. The combat power that can be exerted will increase exponentially. Strong individuals and the advantages of clusters, why not combine them together? Magic or ki is also a part of the world. In the past, technology just ignored this existence. Technology that expands into new fields will inevitably make another leap forward, that would probably only make the powerful individual more aloof. The old woman named Hong Qingfang couldn't help but speak. What does it mean to be strong? The strong are always transcendent, and this does not matter whether there's magic or not. Adam spread his hands. The United States is powerful, so it is transcendent. In terms of power, resources, technology, if you include the wizarding world, the United States is not that transcendent. After saying this, Adam looked at Feng Zaren. The worlds of wizards and ordinary people merge into one, and a world where 100 flowers bloom. This is what we want to see. As for the so-called status, in principle, we preach that everyone is equal, but each country has its own national conditions. Even if there are no wizards, are all ordinary people equal? Nationality, race, gender, it's just that compared to wizards, the remaining ordinary people are barely classified into a group. This kind of thing is really meaningless. Chapter 448. It's very simple. Before we can realize such a world, we will probably have to go through a war first, right? A middle-aged man said with a frown. The original world structure has basically stabilized. But the 2 atomic bombs have chilled the blood of everyone above. The only 2 times that the atomic bomb was put into use was for experimentation and deterrence. That's why Hiroshima and Nagasaki were chosen instead of Tokyo and Osaka. Deterrence became the greatest role of all subsequent nuclear weapons created. If this kind of weapon were to be used in war, and if you were the decision maker, would you choose to throw this kind of weapon that can poison the enemy regardless of ourselves to the front battlefield, or throw it into the enemy's lair? This problem that did not require much thought stopped the number of world wars at number 2. The scale of all subsequent wars was restrained to a point where 2 nuclear-armed countries would not face each other head-on, although there is a treaty that states that even if a war breaks out, it will refrain from escalating to a full-scale nuclear war. But in a hurry, who would care about a piece of paper? So everyone restrained themselves tacitly and calmly. But if the existence of the mysterious side is brought to light, everyone's cold blood will become hot again, and the Third World War will be fought, and nuclear bombs will be dropped on each other when the land is completely white. How can we talk about letting 100 flowers bloom? We have already considered it. We only need a neutral force to control this situation and prevent it from evolving to that point. Regarding Adam's somewhat innocent words, the man in the shirt couldn't help but said, "Are you talking about the United Nations and the International Confederation of Wizards?" The reason why the United Nations is what it is today is that it essentially represents decisions reached by consensus among the most powerful countries on the planet, rather than because there is anything special about it. If it really goes to the level of a world war, it will be impossible for those countries to reach an agreement, and then the United Nations is nothing, since the United Nations and the International Federation of Wizards are unreliable. It's very simple. Can't it be enough for me to become this force? After saying that, Adam stood up, and his huge magic power stirred up his clothes. The United Nations claims to be neutral, so I can also claim to be neutral. Looking at Adam, all the middle-aged and elderly people in the conference room were stunned. After a while, the man in the shirt couldn't help but said, "Mr. Reed, stop joking. No matter how powerful you are, how many divisions can you defeat? Even if you have an atomic bomb, you can't stop others from throwing atomic bombs." Who said I can't stop it? As soon as Adam took action, a dark, streamlined and even cute atomic bomb was placed in the open space behind the conference room. The next moment, voices one after another rang in the conference room. "Mr. Reed, calm down, don't pull out the atomic bomb. We can talk if you have anything to say." Jilk Sinwin, quickly, Jilk Sinwin, don't worry, aren't we just discussing it? After some confusion, Adam couldn't help but feel helpless when he looked at the group of people in front of him who had taken the Suxiojaxin pills. The atmosphere before being treated like this was ruined. Isn't it said that the superiors want the mountain to collapse in front of them, but their appearance remains unchanged, and the elk to move to the left but their eyes cannot blink? Why are they all so poor in psychological quality? If they heard Adam's thoughts, the people in front of him would spit blood all over his face. The ancients said it was just a metaphor. If you take out this thing, it can really make Mount Tai collapse. In any case, the situation was finally under control. Adam stretched out his hand and said under the trembling gaze of everyone, "This is not an atomic bomb from the United Kingdom. You should know its name very well. It is called Little Boy, Little Boy." After several seconds, someone finally spoke reluctantly. "The little boy dropped in Hiroshima." "Yes, that's the little boy." Adam touched the little boy's outer shell and slowly spoke under the puzzled eyes of everyone. "Next, let me explain to you the concepts of parallel time and space and time magic." The sun slowly sank into the horizon, and the bright white lights had long since replaced the sunlight. Everyone in the conference room, except for Adam and the Yoon brothers, were still sitting where they were, with bloodshot eyes still staring at the atomic bomb in front of them. A bunch of staff seeing the staff stop what they were doing, Feng Zarin immediately spoke. "How did it turn out?" The staff member froze in place and thought for a while before speaking. "From the data point of view, some parts are indeed consistent with the information released by the US. The remaining part cannot be ruled out as falsification of US data, but it is not completely certain that this model restores the structure of the little boy. Is this so?" "That's right. I didn't even take into account the fact that the US side had falsified information." Feng Zarin couldn't help but frown at this time. The staff member spoke again. But what? However, the state of this atomic bomb model is indeed very special. The gunpowder has burned out, and the 2 low-critical uranium-235 signaling devices are about to collide, but they are fixed in the air in an unknown way, Staff member looked at the atomic bomb model that had been stripped of its shell behind him. It was so realistic that if there was no radiation, he would have thought it was really an atomic bomb. After feeling the heartbeat, which was still a little slow, the staff member continued, "Seriously, this model is so ingenious. Whose work is it? I have never heard of any academician with such leisurely elegance. It can't be from the civil sciences, right? Who is so awesome? I even doubt him if I give him the materials for the atomic bomb. I can really make one. According to what you are saying now, he is much more awesome than you thought." Feng Zaren's expression suddenly changed, and he regained his composure after a few seconds. "You don't need to worry about this. I know the situation. Remember the confidentiality regulations, right?" No. The staff member scratched his head, but in the end he couldn't figure out who might have made the model, so he shook his head and left after the other party led the team away. The conference room returned to silence in a daze. They seemed to see the two sentences the young man said at the end of the long table today. "We have already considered it. We only need a neutral force to control this situation and prevent it from evolving to that point. Since the United Nations and the International Federation of Wizards are unreliable, it's very simple. Can't it be enough for me to become this force? Time, magic, parallel time and space." The other party seems to be able to do it. The next day, Adam couldn't bear to look at a group of middle-aged and elderly people with haggard faces. "You guys don't seem to have had a good rest. How about you rest for 2 more days? It's not that urgent. It's okay. I sleep less as I get older." Feng Zaren waved his hand. "Not in a hurry? Since the founding of New China, this moment has been the most urgent. After our inspection, we can believe that what Mr. Reed said yesterday is true." "Really? I don't need to lie to you." Looking at Adam with a frank look on his face, Feng Zaren only felt a bitter taste in his mouth. He would rather the other person had lied to them before. "Ahem. This is indeed a case of us treating a gentleman with a villain's heart, and we apologize to you. It's okay." Looking at Adam, who looked relaxed, Feng Zaren sighed and said, "As of now, there is only one thing we don't understand. You have such strength. It is enough to directly declare to rule the earth. Why do you still seek cooperation? There can't be more than one person with such outrageous abilities, right?" If that were the case, Feng Zaren felt that they could already write their resignations collectively, and they would not be able to play in the office in subsequent versions. Chapter 449. Eugene? Fortunately, Adam's answer comforted Feng Zaren. "Although I have the power to quell the chaos, blindly suppressing the situation with force cannot really solve the problem, and my power alone is still too little for the whole world." Looking at Feng Zaren, Adam said sincerely, "Even if I can control those major countries from going to war at the national level, I can't take care of those small countries or even regions alone, not to mention those speculators and ambitious people who take advantage of the chaos to make profits. So, before the secrecy law is truly abolished, we think we still need a plan on how to avoid unnecessary conflicts as much as possible and how to guide ordinary people and the mysterious side to accept each other. But it seems that we cannot accomplish this task with our own wisdom alone." At this point, Adam sighed. "We tried to seek relevant wisdom and experience, but on our side, people with ruling experience only think about how to make profits for themselves in various ways, and the lives of the people account for a negligible proportion in their thinking. They are exactly what I call speculators and ambitious people. For our goal, I have to seek the ancient wisdom of the East. Fortunately, as far as I can see now, the office should be able to provide help for our contingency plan." "I see." Feng Zaren breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but be moved. Maybe, after the abolition of the confidentiality law, the world can indeed become better. The rule of the supremacy of the strong is a reality, and the equality of personality is an ideal. These two seem impossible to achieve at the same time, but there is indeed an intersection. What if the strongest supports the equality of personality? The equal world that has always existed only in the West may really be possible, and they need such an equal environment. There is no need to think too much, and everyone in the office agreed to Adam's cooperation very happily. After reaching a cooperation intention, Adam also quickly contacted Eugene, and sent a message to Eugene on parchment the next morning. "The well-educated great magician, Eugene, I have negotiated with a Chinese office for you, and you finally have a more reliable think tank when making a plan." Not long after, Eugene responded, "Minister of Magic, I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday." "Minister of Magic, I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday." "What, China?" "Minister of Magic, I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday. What office? Minister of Magic. I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday. What plan? Adam was stunned and recalled. The well-educated great magician, after abolishing the statute of secrecy, how to guide wizards and muggles to accept each other harmoniously. Didn't I tell you about it? Minister of Magic. I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday. Minister of Magic. I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday. You didn't. Minister of Magic. I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday. You only said that you would abolish the statute of secrecy in the future, but you didn't even tell me when to do it. Adam blinked. Did he really not? Just as Adam tried to find the memory of what he and Eugene had said from his memory, Eugene sent another message. Minister of Magic. I want to eat 13 spice grilled fish next Saturday. So when do you plan to abolish the statute of secrecy? I'll prepare it here. The great wizard who has learned everything. About a month later. Silence. Silence is written tonight. After several seconds, Eugene replied, Minister of Magic, I'm not free next Saturday. A month later? Exclamation mark. Well, not only has the name changed, but even the font in the message sent is a bit hideous, and some of the pauses between the strokes of the letters are particularly powerful, which makes it easy to think of the force of the feather pen almost piercing the parchment when writing these letters. Adam coughed awkwardly, thought about the situation of the wizarding party, and quickly replied, the great magician who has learned everything. Actually, it's not that urgent. How long do you think it will take to prepare? The Minister of Magic. I may be free next Saturday. Half a year is not too short, and 2 years is not too long. Adam paused after looking at Eugene's reply, and silently used magic to erase the half-written. Is 2 months enough? The great magician who has learned everything. Try to get it done within half a year. The office is very fast, and this kind of thing has never happened before. An overly detailed plan is not very meaningful. The main thing is to plan a general direction for dealing with the problem. On the other side of the parchment, Eugene, who was shaken out of bed by the news in the middle of the night, saw this and nodded with one hand supporting his cheek. The great magician who has learned everything. The most important thing is that I can't suppress everyone forever with my own ability, so I have to come up with a management system that can be autonomous, healthy and sustainable in the future, for future organizations similar to the International Confederation of Wizards. Eugene's hand supporting his cheek slipped suddenly. Minister of Magic, ready to run away at any time? Question mark. Minister of Magic, ready to run away at any time. If you take out your latter request alone, it may not be fruitful even if we discuss it for 2 years. Is that so? Adam blinked. He has always been a hands-off boss and is not very clear about the process of implementing these requests. Minister of Magic, ready to run away at any time. No, it should be said that it is impossible to achieve. The ideal world you described to us only exists when you suppress the world alone, and the premise is that you will not change. Minister of Magic, ready to run away at any time. Your ability can meet all your needs, so you can handle everything selflessly enough, but selfishness is the norm for normal people. Minister of Magic, ready to run away at any time. Withdrew a message. Minister of Magic, ready to run away at any time. Your ability can meet all your needs, so you can handle everything selflessly enough, but selfishness is the norm for ordinary people? Question mark. Adam's eyes jumped. Don't think that I can't see what you sent before just because you withdraw it quickly. I'm not a normal person, right? I'm also selfish, but this also made Adam sigh. Indeed, this requirement is more excessive than a circle with some edges and corners but without changing the original shape. The great magician who has learned everything. Don't rush to run away. There is no rush for the management system in 100 years. If it can't be done, forget it. The great magician who has learned everything. Put the parchment on the table, and I will send you a grilled fish. Recalling Eugene's username, Adam specially went to the kitchen to make a 13-spice grilled fish with all the ingredients and fish bones removed, and sent it to Eugene using the connection of the parchment. Minister of Magic, eating 13-spice grilled fish version. Got it. Putting down the parchment, Adam glanced at the other 13-spice grilled fish on his table. It happened that he hadn't eaten breakfast yet, so he might as well ask Yun Jinshu and Yun Yan if they had eaten. Adam just stood up and paused when he heard the prompt sound. He took out a piece of parchment from his pocket. This was the group chat of his brothers. Azkaban is my home. I'm working overtime in Azkaban, and you guys secretly eat supper without me. Azkaban is my home. At the great magician who has learned everything. At Minister of Magic, eating 13-spice grilled fish version. Chapter 450. Uther? Question mark. A midnight snack. Adam was stunned for a moment before he took a deep breath. Oh shit, I forgot the time difference again. Then didn't Eugene just hiss? Adam felt guilty for waking Eugene up in the middle of the night and giving him a lot of shocks. He quickly sent Eugene some more skewers and drinks. Although Eugene might not be able to finish the grilled fish, it would be breakfast in the UK soon, so he could continue eating after heating it up. Then Adam had time to look at the group again. Eugene and Bernard had already chatted for several pages. No, it should be said that Bernard had swiped several pages unilaterally. Most of the sentences were the same, and Adam looked directly at the end. Azkaban is my home. Don't think you can get away with it just by changing your name. At Minister of Magic, where is my share? At Great Magician who has learned everything, how to say it. There are some distorted handwriting between the lines, which all reveal the resentment of working overtime until midnight. The well-versed wizard, find a table and put the parchment on it. What would you like to eat? Bernard finally stopped talking. He ordered some skewers and stopped sending messages. Minister of Magic, you can still refresh the screen and look very free. You don't look busy. Minister of Magic, what are you doing when you work overtime until midnight? How come I don't know what you have to work overtime for recently? If it were any other Ministry of Magic or any other organization, this conversation would have the smell of gunpowder. The superiors don't know what the subordinates are busy with. Either the superiors don't pay attention to the subordinates' work, or the subordinates are busy hiding things from the superiors. But in the British Ministry of Magic, especially between them, everything is so normal. Azkaban is my home. I plan to redecorate Azkaban, and I am arranging data statistics in various aspects recently. Minister of Magic, the well-versed wizard, Azkaban is my home. I didn't think too much before, and just renovated it according to the original Azkaban. Now I find that there are too many cells, because no matter how long the prisoners are locked up, they will not be exposed to the outside world for more than one day. As a result, 90% of the cells are wasted. Azkaban is my home, and even if there are no Dementors in Azkaban, the style is still a bit gloomy, which does not conform to the current role of Azkaban in persuading people to be kind and positive. The great wizard who has learned everything. Do you really regard Azkaban as your home? Azkaban is my home. To be honest, there are not only prisoners here, but also me and the staff. What's wrong with improving the working environment? Azkaban is my home, facing the gray bricks, gray walls and gray ceilings every day, and the island is humid. I feel that I don't have the mood to eat. Azkaban is my home. Anyway, the Ministry of Magic is not short of money now, and fewer people dare to commit crimes now, so I have a lot of free time. The great wizard who has learned everything. Okay, you keep going. Adam thought for a moment and picked up the pen again. The great wizard who has learned everything, since you are free, remember to help Eugene and discuss with the Huaksha office the plan after the abolition of the confidentiality law. Azkaban is my home, throwing the empty sign in the trash can. Bernard thought about whether it was too late to withdraw the above information. The great wizard who has learned everything, there will definitely be many criminals by then. Your legal thinking is very important, and you should be very busy afterwards. The great wizard who has learned everything, the wizarding world and the muggle world are merging, and the law will naturally change along with it. It may even be necessary to speed up the revision of new laws according to the actual situation. The great wizard who has learned everything, I think you can talk to your parents when you have time. You will use their experience in muggle law. What you learn from books is always shallow. Bernard's mature handling of wizard law was also consolidated little by little in judicial practice. Seeing these news, Bernard raised his eyebrows, and he was a little interested. Azkaban is my home. Okay, I'll ask for leave to go and have a look. Minister of Magic, no, I'll approve it directly. Adam smacked his lips. Bernard's only superior is Eugene, which is indeed convenient. Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? The plan after the abolition of the statute of secrecy. Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? Has it come to this point? Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? I just went into seclusion for a few days of classes. Why do I feel like I've missed a few months? This is Uther's account. Mrs. Tuia seems to have planned to pass the position of Minister of Magic to him in the near future. She wishes he could take over all the affairs of the Ministry of Magic immediately, which has caused his originally not easy life to become hot and humid. Azkaban is my home. Hey, Uther, you're out of seclusion. You didn't come to the last party. We had a shabu hot pot. Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? It's okay, I don't like spicy food. Azkaban is my home. A dish of braised lamb and cheese beef. Oh yeah, there is also barbecue and grilled eggplant. Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? At U0026 U0026, Uther angrily wrote a string of ancient Egyptian swear words, Even in hieroglyphics, Azkaban is my home? What did you say? The well-educated wizard, he said he felt uncomfortable chatting with you. Adam, who could read hieroglyphics, ended the exchange with a more euphemistic description, and then sent a message to Uther, the well-educated wizard. Uther, are you free now? Uther was just about to say that he was free, and not only that he was free, but he had also become thinner due to hunger during this period. However, he glanced up casually and saw the chat record of Bernard, who was free, being drafted into the army, and his hand suddenly stopped. Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? What's up, the great wizard who has learned everything? You must have had a hard time studying in seclusion. So I'll make a big meal to reward you. Why is it more tiring at home than at Hogwarts? I'm free, the great wizard who has learned everything. By the way, I'll ask you to make a plan with me. Bang. At %U0026. Egyptian swear words. Uther punched the table hard. The flames of the stove in front of him rose, and beef, mutton, and various seasonings and side dishes flew up and down. Adam covered his mouth and laughed while explaining to Uther what the specific situation of the plan was. This matter related to the future of the world. Other magic ministries wanted to participate but they were not qualified, and the Egyptian magic ministry was able to participate because of Uther's relationship. As for capturing Uther's men, even if this matter is handed over to Mrs. Tuaya, given Mrs. Tuaya's current expectations for Uther, she will still arrange for Uther to go, and he can't escape no matter what. Uther, who is far away in Egypt, sighed. Life is not easy. Do you have to be the minister of magic? Adam expressed his understanding and comfort. When the time comes, you will not only be the minister of magic, but you may also be the president of Egypt. Uther? Question mark? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.